Welcome everybody to the Trek Time Star Trek show. Not as advertised the Timelines Talk Star Trek show. No, we have rebranded, and here's Shy. He has appeared from nowhere, and as always, joined by Stars and Garters. Gentlemen, how are you this fine week of February? The 1st of February. We have escaped the cold winterness of January into the dawn of February, where we only talk about exciting things here. How are you, gentlemen?
Still freaking cold, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
But it's a little bit warmer. I've seen more sun than I've seen in 2 months. Just a little bit more. At 4 o'clock, it wasn't desolately dark, and I wanted to just cry.
I hate to tell you this title, but all the special effects on the motion picture, those are not the sun.
What?
Sorry,
That's ridiculous.
I'm sorry. I hate to be the one.
We will be talking about the motion picture. So we do have a fully packed lineup show. We're going to be talking about a lot of the news, a lot of things that are coming up. A lot of unfortunate news, which we'll talk about just a minute. And then we're going to have a little discussion as we continued from Star Trek Generation. For some reason, we started with Star Trek Generations, First Contact, Insurrection, Nemesis. We're now going to loop it all the way back around, and we're going to talk about the motion picture, which I imagine we'll be getting onto at some point on our Star Trek Trek.
Look, it's all a long-form plan to make sure that we avoid talking about Into Darkness for as long as possible.
Yeah, that's like a 2-hour-long dissertation.
Because I don't want to watch it. I don't want to have to rewatch it if I'm going to have to for this, so...
We'll get there eventually. But gentlemen, how are you? How has your week been?
Good.
I'm
good.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I'm going to speak.
Red alarm.
At the same
Red alarm.
pace.
Red alarm.
Yeah, I'm going to speak at the same pace that this movie shows spaceships.
Oh, come on,
No,
you need a bit more dramatic.
I'm good.
Like, yeah, you should say, okay, yeah, but you
I
need
know. I'm sorry. I should have been slowly.
Yeah, you need
I should
to
be
do your
slowly
exercise.
panning across the screen as I say that. Hey everyone, my week is going. Yeah, do you guys have Groundhog Day? Do you have Groundhog Day over there?
No.
Has that infiltrated over there? Because it's tomorrow, and it will tell us whether or not we're.
Oh, is that tomorrow?
6
Is it?
months,
Okay.
or not.
No, a few things have infiltrated our culture. I've known people to start doing gender reveal parties, which I'm just like, please don't. Just why?
Sorry
yeah, no, it's okay. It's not your fault.
It's a boy! A nuclear bomb, like, full of, like, pink confetti goes off.
One could only hope.
Are we doing Trek news? Because this was a good week
Yes,
for
this was quite
Trek
a good week
news.
for news.
Yeah.
Have you got something? What have you got? Have you got something exclusive? Have you got some hot scoops?
No, I don't have it. I mean, just the.
This was.
I see. This is why I
just
should
like
look at the
Star
show.
Trek.
This is
This is why I should
very
look at the
good,
show
yes.
notes. But I know
Well-
the new Picard trailer drops. But I don't know where you're.
Yeah,
what
let's
that is
start
in
there.
your
Let's
show.
start there because we're on a hype mood. Yes, Picard season 3, the big trailer has dropped. The one that shows everyone in their various aspects and adds a lot of tension to the story. I'd like to sort of gauge your opinions, guys, because Stars, I know you've not watched season 2 yet, but you've heard enough about it to gauge your own opinions. Shai, you've watched it all. Coming off of seasons 1 and 2, which everyone is kind of a bit down on, with a few sort of like, either meh or down. There's no one just going, oh, that was excellent, I absolutely adored it. How because I'm very tempering my expectations going into season 3, just going like, yeah, I know this looks awesome, but I've been hurt before. Fool me once, you know the phrase.
Let's be real here. Star Trek has a... Not even... It's almost like it's built into the formula at some point. You kind of almost have to have a rough start. Like, if I judged Enterprise based purely on the first 2 seasons, I'd fucking hate it. Right? Like, if I judged TNG based on just the first season, I'd fucking hate it. If I judged the entire film franchise based on the motion picture, I'd be like... But, I'm willing to give Star Trek a chance every time. Like, guess what? I'll always tune in, I'll give it a shot. Yeah, Picard has been more misses than hits, but when it hits right. Okay? It's like, and so long as there is something in there that makes me think, makes me feel, I'm like, you know what? Fine. I will happily waste my time watching, like a load of like 70-year-olds, parading around in Starfleet pajamas for a season. Because, like, I ain't got anything going on. Like, I like Star Trek. I'll give it a shot. And it's... I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic. I don't think everyone's on the hype train that they were when, Patrick Stewart announced his return. But, guess what? I'm just happy to see them on screen. They're all good actors. It's nice to see them back on, going again. But Give it a shot. But what's the worst that could happen? It's not like he's going to reach through the TV screen and kill me.
Well, it's a new frontier for television.
Well, that we know.
Question
That's a different franchise.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. It's the Star Trek The Ring.
That's a different horror franchise. It's interesting because you're like, Picard's not. It's not a. I'm sorry, words are hard today. It's not unanimously that everyone's. Not unanimously that everyone's out on Picard. I was just looking at some posts the other day. Some people love Picard season 2. Like, it really speaks to them. There's going to be people out there who really love the outliers. Like today, we're going to be talking about a movie that generally most people think is a bad movie, but someone mysteriously in this group of 3 loves that movie. So there are people that love The Rise of Skywalker. There's people that love Star Trek 5. There are people. Those people exist, I'm telling you.
Final Frontier, I understand. Rise of Skywalker.
No, I don't understand Final Frontier either. But
I do.
There's room in the franchise for everyone, right?
Fine.
Like,
yeah,
there's room for this franchise.
Absolutely. A question from Walt in chat. Does Stars need to watch season 2 in a rush so we can get to watching Worf straight away? Are you going to actually watch season 2?
Guess what? I will watch season 1 and season 2 over again. But guess what? I don't need to have, because it's not as if the events of season 1 and season 2 have any fucking bearing on season 3, given that the effects of season 1 also had no bearing on season 2.
No, this is probably true.
In terms of cohesion and like one season flowing naturally into the next, this might be the least cohesive Star Trek series ever made. Everyone is just having it's a violent tug of war about what the series is actually about. Is it about synthetic rights and like making peace with Data's ghost? No, it's actually about time travel and the evil Confederation. Or is it actually just a Wrath of Khan style, we need to get to the thing before the bad guy style thing? Like, no one sits down and has a discussion about what's the thesis statement of Picard as a show. It's like, it's whatever we feel like doing this season, I guess. Hey, Sir Patrick, what do you feel like doing? I don't know, I feel like doing this. Cool, let's do that.
Yeah, it was interesting because they announced it from the drop of the season 1 saying this is going to be 3 seasons. Like, this wasn't a surprise. Like, this is going to be the final season. But that made everyone think that, there's a plan. There's a cohesive plan. We'll get through, 3 years out of Patrick Stewart before obviously his age is a factor here with all the best respect in the world. But yeah, this it's a very disjointed series. That being said, I think of the hype for there was a hype for season 2, which kind of when we saw the first trailer was looking at the new Stargazer, the new Stargazer ship and Captain Rios and seeing Seven in action again. It was all like, ooh, this could be fun. And there was the Borg element as soon as, and we'll talk about her soon. Annie Wersching was announced as the Borg Queen. It was like, okay, where are they going with this? Season 3 is kind of trying to. The one thing I think is familiar to is Avengers series, or specifically Avengers Endgame, where it's been like, look at all these things we're bringing back together for this epic finale. Now, okay, obviously all the TNG cast, but you've also got Moriarty's coming back. Okay, spoilers for the trailer, if you haven't realised, we're not spoiling the series, but Moriarty's coming back. Law is coming back. There are rumours of Denise Crosby. Well, she pretty much almost all but confirmed Denise Crosby coming back in some capacity. It does seem to be like a bit of an all-star cast. Seven's going to be there, and imagine I have a theory that there may be a Janeway appearance at some point. So, this does feel like the whole coming together, and if they can pull it off the same way that Marvel did Endgame, and from what Terry Matalas and some other reviewers are saying, from people that got early screeners, to saying like this is a brilliant love note, a final epic adventure for the TNG cast that pays off, that gets me hyped. But I know what season it is, and it's the pre kind of hype season where everyone's going to say all the good stuff to get you to watch it. So I'm kind of battling against those two forces at the moment.
The problem is if you took Picard season 1 just by its first 2 episodes, or Picard season 2 by its first 2 episodes, they are not representative of those series as a whole. They are very unrepresentative, I would say, in terms of like Picard season 1, I suppose, is a bit more because you actually get an actual kind of mission statement, but season 2 especially, just like that has nothing to do with anything really.
Right? The first 2 seasons of season 2 of Picard are really exciting. Like people were like, great, they're back on track, and then back in time.
Yeah.
It's the Sonic the Hedgehog meme, isn't it? You get the Sonic cycle. Like, for anyone that isn't aware, go look it up. It's like you start off like going, this game was terrible. Then you go around and go, I'm not buying another one. And then it goes around and go, oh, then there's a new trailer. Let's get hyped. And then the next one, I'm pre-ordering it. Let's get involved. It's a continual entertainment cycle where you're burned by the last one, but they present the new one so excitedly that you're kind of hyped. But that being said, there is some internal hype for us people that watch TNG when it came out and looking at saying, look, it's Moriarty and he still looks good, and how are they going to bring in lore, and there's just are we going to see the Enterprise again?
Yeah, I've never seen critics sort of so eager to applaud like a new season ahead of time. Like all the Trek critics that have gotten early copies of the season are thrilled with it. But I'm also remembering, if I can jump franchises again,
please,
way back in the 90s, 2000s, when after Phantom Menace disappointed everyone, and the trailers for Attack of the Clones came out. I know millennials, you love the prequels, but at the time we hated them. And then the trailers for Attack of the Clones came out, and we were like, oh, this looks good. Like they're gonna fix it. Like they fixed everything in Phantom Menace. And then my favorite, of course, movie-going experience was sitting in the Ziegfeld Theater in New York with a crowd of New Yorkers laughing hysterically at Attack of the Clones because it was so bad.
It was pretty dire.
So
would you say that your viewing experience was rough and coarse and it went in everywhere?
Yeah. Sand. I hate sand.
Listen, we'll have a Star Trek, not Trek, on the Star Wars stuff at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But no.
Okay, you know what? I do actually have to bring something up though. So in regards to that Sonic cycle, it's a pretty like uniform media cycle of hype, disappointment, hype, release, whatever. I think that especially when it comes to Star Trek, you need to confront and make peace with the fact there is nowhere but up for this series to go. There is never going to be anything as bad as Code of Honor. There is never going to be anything as bad as freaking Threshold. Like, we have already plateaued. Threshold's fine, actually, but it is ridiculously stupid. A lot of Janeway flirting. Like, I honestly dare someone to look me in the face and say that there is actually any one individual scene or episode of Picard or Discovery or any of these new ones there's actually worse than Code of Honor. It's already been done. It's been done. Yeah. We've plateaued. We can't get any worse. So it's like that kind of helps temper my hype and also tempers my disappointment. It's like, how does this relative to the rest of the franchise? It's like, well, does it disappoint me as much as Nemesis? I don't know. Can anything disappoint me as much as Nemesis? I feel like Nemesis already stole a bit of innocence away from me. That means I can't be disappointed like that away again. So, like, fuck it, bring it on. Guess what? I get to see Worf again. Even if he dies, guess what? At least I got a few more hours I didn't think I'd get with him.
Man.
But how excited would you be if Admiral Janeway is out in the new Voyager C or whatever it is, and she comes across this hulking alien ship, and out of the shadows, this shadowy figure comes, and it's this catfish alien that says, "Hello, mother."
Well, this
you know what?
Yeah,
I'd give if you did it in Prodigy. Do it in Prodigy and you get a pass.
You'd love it. Prodigy or Lower Decks, you can get an automatic pass. Like, oh yeah, this is one of my 300 sons that I had with Tom Paris. But speaking of children, there is. I'm just going to quickly Google the cast member here because they're revealed in the new trailer. Let me just very quickly IMDb something because I need to know his name because there's a new person. I haven't memorized anything yet. It is. No, it's not letting me find it. Anyway, there is a new actor starting in Picard Season 3 that was featured prominently in the trailers that is actually on the main poster alongside the veteran TNG and Raffi and Seven, some of the other main cast. And a lot of people are saying, is this Picard and Beverly's son? And there's a lot of theory crafting going out there, which, you know, as
what do you mean, Wesley?
yeah, this is Wesley's goal. No, we've already, well, yeah. Yeah, and I wonder what you guys thought on this new character who's seen. The theory is that the established running is he's on Beverly's ship at the start of season 3, and he was going. But we've seen him with a phaser to Picard's head and things like that. He looks almost antagonistic. So, just theories. Do you believe in the theory that Picard and Beverly had a child between Nemesis and Picard that just failed to mention it in a Burnham kind of way, or
it just never came up. I don't know, man. Like, Star Trek is one of those series where, like, there are such radical character shifts in between appearances that you could tell me anything and I'd be like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, you remember in season 7 of TNG when they were like,
Spielers.
oh yeah,
Ed Spielers is the new guy.
When they were like, yeah, Picard, you totally have a son that you don't remember having, and it was like Jason Vega, whatever his fucking name was. Remember?
Oh yeah,
guess what? We've already done this plot.
Yeah,
we've already done this plot, and it was a fucking load of garbage as well. Like,
this actor looks the way Tom Hardy's old picture in Nemesis should have looked.
Yes,
when he picked up with hair, he kind of looks like young Picard. So I can understand why that's why the fan theories are. But I don't really.
Fun fact: he was actually he was the title role in Eragon, the film that butchered the books. He was the lead kid in that. So
what a stunning resume.
Yeah, he was Eragon and a few other things. But yeah, there's a lot of theories kind of go every time there's a new character coming. Oh,
red alarm!
Thank you, Kid Rock.
Red alarm!
Oh no, it's a bot. Someone ban that. God damn it. How do I ban? Anyway, guys, you carry on talking about this unknown character. We'll talk about season 3 while I try and work out how I ban people.
I also have this thing of like, as I've gotten older and I've watched more and more media, the less I kind of care about established characters having like children or like, you know, whatever. It's like, is the character interesting? Like, is the actual character that you are positing as this character's son or daughter, are they interesting? Because I could think of at least 2 video games that have come out in the last 6 months or so that have both tackled the let's have a successor character who is in some way related to, you know, the main character of the previous games, and we're going to do a handing off sort of like thing. And one of them handled it extremely well, one of them handled it extremely badly, and it all comes down to whether or not the character is interesting. Now, if this character is related to like Beverly and Picard, cool, fine, whatever. We'll see. You know, I just want to know if he's an interesting character, because and it's also, can I please get an assurance that he's not just going to die at the end of the season like every other new character they've introduced in Picard? Like, with the exception of Raffi, it's 100% mortality rate. So, like,
I mean, Jurati didn't die. She just went to a better place.
Yeah, no, she died on the way back to her home planet. Yeah, they went. He died. He's dead.
Rios stayed in the past, then proceeded to time hop, having adventures like Chris Evans in Captain America, and then he goes back and dies with his love, Saul Rodriguez, as we all should.
So
he dies.
So he's dead. Like, guess what? I don't even necessarily mean like, oh, they died violently, like certain other characters I shall not name, because if you're like me and I have actually, but I know who dies anyway. It's like, guess what? Are they going to be showing up again? Should I be invested? Am I going to have like a satisfying payoff to their story? Because I've got a great track record on that.
I believe the rumblings in the rumor news is that if Picard season 3 does particularly well, there may be some more action from established Picard cast, maybe not Picard or some of the TNG crew themselves. But I bet you that there's an interest in a 7 series. Well, we said that about Rios, and then look what happened. And maybe these characters might get some more, you know, use in the future. But again, like you say, Stars, if they don't end up surviving the end of this season, and it's the final season, I actually don't mind, because we're not going to see them anyway. So, not bothered.
Yeah.
What do you reckon? Go on.
You guys are going to be eating so much crow when Rios comes back in the Time Agent. Gary 7 time traveling series. You're gonna feel so stupid. Look,
guess what? I would be happy because I like Rios a lot. Guess what? I'll happily eat that crew because that means he'll be back.
I'm telling you. Look, any concept, no matter how bad, can be done well if it's executed well. Right? I always go back to the Doogie Howser MD concept. 13-year-old medical doctor is a stupid idea, but you can do any show well, right? So it's all about the execution, and hopefully they execute
well. Do you think House MD is just Doogie Howser grown up?
No, I think it's Sherlock done in an American medical procedural setting. No, okay. Nothing original under the sun, Idol. You know that.
That's very true. But yeah, so season 3 is starting soon. I think it's like in a couple of weeks. I believe it's on the 17th, I think.
Guess what? Put on your best flock smiles. Optimism, Captain.
Optimism. Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Springs Eternal.
It's the whole TNG cast together. This is the crew I got me into Star Trek. Sitting there like when I was about 6 years old, watching them with my dad as he got videotapes from his friends in America, putting them on, and having to get an imported Betamax player just so we could watch them before the rest of the filthy Brits. And
they should give us 3 seasons of this crew, right? This is kind of what people wanted from Picard in the first place.
Like, as soon as you saw Nepenthe, you just cameos. That's what we want.
Yeah, Nepenthe is the best episode of the entire series so far.
And like I rag on season 2. I think like it's not bad, like in the way, like you say, in the way Code of Honor is. Like it's not. It's just it feels under executed. There are some great threads in it. Like I resonate with the Picard and Mother storyline. I have, resonate with that. I think the whole Confederate thing is great. I wish they paid off on them. I love the Borg Queen Jurati interactions. I think they're absolutely fantastic. I don't like the Adam Soong and Kore stuff. I think that's just a bit like, well, we have these actors, let's just use them. And the whole Talon Laris weird like connection. There are things that just weren't thought about or just kind of not executed. Or just shouldn't have been done in the first place. Should have focused more on certain parts than others.
This is a problem that's going to pop up in our discussion about the motion picture. But you can really tell when a project has had an editor go through and actually been like, you don't need that. Yeah. You don't need that. This serves no purpose. That character's entire narrative arc has been aborted and given to another character. Trim the fat. Like this is something that's like important for obviously The Last of Us has come out and it's I've only seen the first episode. I know Martin dropped. Yeah. But here's the thing, right? In terms of the comparison with the game. In terms of a comparison with the game, what I appreciate about the game story is that it is lean. It is focused on focused on one story. It's not about the infection. It's not about the state of society. These are all backdrop. The actual emotional thread of The Last of Us is one relationship and how it changes and how it doesn't change. And that was my initial problem with like the TV show, was that like all the stuff that they have added felt like fat that could have been trimmed and that was trimmed from the game, where it's like, yeah, you could have had that background in the game, but it wasn't required because it did not serve the story. Now, that being said, I have been told that the show diverges more and does more to justify its existence. I will be watching those episodes probably tomorrow because I actually have a free day off. But that's what I need from my as I've kind of gotten older, from my games and my movies and my TV shows. I appreciate leanness and focus.
Time
like, if you have a billion... Well, it's just a case of like, if you're not going to pay off on it in a satisfying, emotionally resonant way, why am I watching it?
But what if I told you
I don't
could just
watch this for
the
relax?
What I love is
the ambiance. Just soak it in. Anyway, sorry, we'll get on to that.
What I love is how badly that take is going to age just in 24 hours after you see the second and third episodes of The Last of Us.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, no, that's it. I said I appreciate leanness and character focus. That's what I appreciate. And from what I understand, Last of Us, the show, does that really well. So.
Which Star Trek?
But you want us to be able. You want us to prep for just taking in the ambiance because we're about to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Just
a movie that is all ambiance,
just like a leaf in the sun. Just take it all. Anyway, sadly, so just to bring it down on a bit of a bummer, but the only bummer this week, very sadly, since we were talking about Picard season 2, we have to report on the tragic passing of Annie Wersching, who died of cancer at age 45. For those that didn't know, she played the Borg Queen in season 2 and got her very first acting break on Star Trek Enterprise as Liana.
Yeah.
I forget which episode it was. Was it Catwalk? Was it? It was season 2.
It was Oasis, wasn't it?
Oh, Oasis. That's right. Yes. So yeah, very sad.
That was one with Renee Auberjonois, right?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. No. Yeah. That was a good episode actually. Yeah. But no, very sad to hear about her passing. Very sudden as well. I don't think I knew about her. Well, I don't think anyone knew about her cancer diagnosis, and very sadly leaving behind a husband and 3 children. So there is a GoFundMe out there which you can find on various links. I'll find it in a minute. I'll post it in chat. Donate to help. Actors aren't as rich and as crazy as you might think. But they need every little. But no, very sad. I've followed Annie Wersching for a while. She was on 24 when I used to watch that. She started at season 7 and 8. Played a very good character character on that, Renee Walker. She also went on to do The Runaways, played sort of like almost like was almost a villain and one of the parents in The Runaways. Very good on that. And she was also in something else fairly recently as well. I can't remember, but played the ball queen.
She's in an American series called The Rookie, which is
The Rookie as well. Yeah, that was it,
as a like an older rookie cop, and she plays a serial killer. And it's actually, everyone's been famously saying that her first and her last roles were Star Trek.
Magnificent, isn't she?
Yeah,
she was.
She is.
Yeah, she was really good.
But they actually wrote a storyline where she, spoilers for anyone who hasn't watched The Rookie, but she plays a serial killer and she orchestrates her own death on the show.
Oh wow!
So I'm wondering if the showrunners of that show actually knew.
Well, possibly, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. So actually, my biggest exposure to her, obviously apart from the Enterprise episode, is, funnily enough, she did the motion capture and acting for the original version of Tess from The Last of Us game.
Yes, she was, yeah.
Remember
a lot of people saying when the production came up, saying, why isn't she on the TV show? Well, no, we know.
Probably why, yeah. So she did a great job. Like, Tess in the original game is a great character. And there's a moment, spoilers for the adaptation of a 10-year-old game, right before she's about to confront her death in the game anyway. I don't know how it plays out in the show yet. There's this moment where she just takes this deep breath and she sets her jaw, and it's a testament to how good the motion capture is that it was able to capture the little fine stuff thing, but you can literally see her jaw and her lips go the little wobble of emotion. And it's just if you want to see just how far motion capture has come, she just absolutely kills that moment, and I'm really glad that the technology was there, that you just get to see her shine. She's just so good in that scene.
Funny enough, Tess is actually played in the show by Anna Torv. If you don't know who Anna Torv was, she was the lead from Fringe, which was a great science fiction show. So yeah, if you're an X-Files fan, go watch Fringe. It's really good. But anyway, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, she's excellent.
Yeah. Even if you didn't realize that she was there, she was an absolute talent, and she will be absolutely missed.
Very much so. I think her Ball Queen was excellent. It's hard to follow on the likes of the genre-defining portrayal as Alice Kriege and to a lesser extent Susanna Thompson, but I think Alice
Thompson did a really good job.
She did a really good job, but I think everyone knows the Ball Queen as Alice Kriege, and I think throughout Picard, as I said before, Ball Queen and Jurati scenes were really good. She was she was vulnerable at the equally vulnerable at the start, and then menacing. Like the scene where she raises herself up on the back of the La Sirena to the classic First Contact Borg theme, da da da, chills down my spine. Really good, and she played that equally powerful and menacing sort of playfulness of the Ball Queen when she was dealing, when she was in Jurati's head, really well. So it is.
She won me over. I was very much like, why isn't Alice Kriege back for this role? You're bringing everyone else back for this series.
Because she's too busy being in Lower Decks. That's why.
Yeah, that's right. But Wersching completely won me over during Picard season 2.
Mm-hmm. You know what? It does actually give me it makes me happy that a lot of these actors get to touch Star Trek, because as maybe aggrandizing as it is, there is something about Star Trek that is relatively eternal. This is a series that has endured for 60 years, probably will for another 60, and if you get to be a part of that franchise, you are pretty much guaranteeing that someone will remember you and see you and appreciate their performance for long after you've passed, even if other smaller shows that you're probably just as good in, like The Rookie, may fall by the wayside and become harder to see or something. I appreciate that. That's kind of one of the nice things about being part of a big cultural touchstone like Star Trek, is that you will be remembered for just how good you were, even if it wasn't necessarily your best work, or if it was just a case of you were a small part of an otherwise big series. But guess what? She'll be appreciated for the rest of the time for that, and I appreciate that.
R.I.P. Annie Wersching. You will be eternally missed forever. On to more positive news, guys. There was an interview done recently with Nicolas Cage when he was asked, "What character would you like to be in the Star Wars universe?" And he just looked and he scoffed and went, "I'm not going to be in Star Wars. I'm a Trekkie. I would rather be in Star Trek. So and this is just like this, like the whole Star Trek like Twitterverse and all the news sites just exploded. Went, Nicolas Cage wants to be on Star Trek. And like my question to you guys is like, who would you want Nicolas Cage to be? Like, would you want him to be like a big bad alien, an admiral? Would you want him to be some sort of like shifty trader? Would you want him to be someone that swaps faces with like Paul Stamets and then they have a shoot off with loads of doves everywhere? I don't know. Sorry, cribbing on face off there.
My answer, I want him to be the 32nd century Klingon Chancellor.
Ooh, actually, speaking of, have you seen the trailer for Renfield where he's playing Dracula?
I have
that
seen
kind of gives me that vibe.
Looks like a fucking hoot.
That looks great.
Nick Cage is hilarious. He's so much fun, and he is a really good, talented actor. Despite what people will tell you about like some of the goofier roles, guess what? He just throws himself in and has fun. Yeah. Like that's like I feel like all actors should allow themselves to.
He's kind of not done the Bruce Willis thing, where Bruce Willis is now just acting for just a bit of cash and just will do anything. No,
hold on. Nick Cage was doing the Bruce Willis thing for many years.
Yeah,
because he had some, and I'm glad to see that Nick Cage's tax problems are over, because he's just dismissing an entire Star Wars franchise. But this guy, I saw a movie on Netflix called Jiu-Jitsu, which is just this terrible sci-fi martial arts movie that Nick Cage is in. He's done many paycheck films. Okay. But like Stars was saying, Nick Cage is also super talented. He's like this brilliantly off-kilter and hilarious actor.
I'm trying to think of... There was a really excellent film he was in. Was it Pig, I think it was?
Yeah.
Was that you fucking... Like, if anyone ever doubts like his acting ability, just go watch him in Pig. He's fucking incredible.
I love... Two of my favourite Nick Cage films, just to derail us slightly from Star Trek, but two of my favourite Nick Cage films are Lord of War. Lord of War is excellent. And 8mm. And the one where he's, viewing all of it.
I've seen 8mm.
And, oh no, is he in Snake Eyes? Yeah, Snake Eyes as well. Snake Eyes is great. The original 1998 Snake Eyes, that's really good. I love those ones. Like, these kind of era. A lot of people think, like, Face Off and, like, his action era phase, but he's had quite a lot of sort of good dramatic roles as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But,
I mean, look, the guy's won an Oscar.
Did he win an Oscar? I forgot what it was.
Yeah, for I think for leaving Las Vegas, right? But
well deserved. But
I would love to see Cage.
What was the one on the film?
Do an homage.
Oh, we've lost you.
Was it Con Air? Have I lost you guys?
You lost me.
Oh, yeah. I think you've. Turn your viewer on, Sky.
Yeah. Con Air, that's the one. Yeah, that's put the Barney in the basket now. But yes, no, I kind of would like to see him as a recurring admiral. I don't know why. I kind of just get that vibe, like but like the off-kilter admiral that none of the other admirals want to associate with. He's just the one on the sidelines that gets all the sort of like, the less than spectacular projects, but they always seem to work, and he has a sort of very off-kilter method of doing them. I think that would.
Oh, so you want him to be Kovic's buddy, yeah?
Kind of, yeah. That'd be awesome.
They've kind of a similar energy.
Back, by the way.
Fun.
Yeah, you're back. Yeah,
you're back now. Yeah.
You can hear me again?
Yeah.
I was going to say I would like to see him do a face-off homage and play like his Prime universe and his Mirror universe selves of themselves side by side, and like it's the one instance where like the Prime and the Mirror versions actually get along and they actually team up for something.
Wow,
I like that. That'd be cool.
I think if you're going to get Nick Cage in Star Trek, you devote an entire episode to him. Like, just don't fuck about.
Just have fun with it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. If the Orville can get like
The Rock is one of my favorite movies. So
yeah, yeah, The Rock is really good actually. Gone in 60 Seconds was mentioned as well, and that's a good one. Enjoy that, even though it's a remake.
He's a fucking good actor. Like, and if he wants to be in there, like, get him in there. Like,
I think
that's the earlier advantage of being in like Star Trek. It's like if you have it creates such a fan base, and people are so delighted to be in there. Like, do you want Stacey Abrams to be in there? Do you want frickin' David Cronenberg to turn up? Like, everyone will do Star Trek. Everyone.
Hi, David. They don't wear glasses in the 32nd century. Yes, they do. Okay, they do.
That's fine. Reason.
This is what I don't understand, right? They have all these stars who are itching to be in Star Trek. I don't know what Paramount is doing. Michelle Yeoh is probably going to win an Oscar this year.
Yeah.
Michelle Yeoh has been wanting to do this Section 31 series forever and a day.
Well,
Look,
and she's
too busy winning Oscars. Okay,
well,
that's her problem.
Let's see. That's a good pivot, actually, because our next point was going to be congratulations to Michelle Yeoh, our own Empress George Ho, for winning a Golden Globe for the absolutely fantastic Everything Everywhere All at Once. If you haven't seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, go and watch it. It's really good. Like, it's so cerebral. It's awesome. And she is great in it. And includes the return of, I forget his name, who played Short Round in Indiana Jones and in The Goonies. What was his name?
Ke Kwan, I believe.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
So he's really good at it as well. But yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once. And she's actually been nominated for Best Actress in the Oscars as well. So kind of fingers crossed that she gets it. However, do you guys think that actually she would, like, you win an Oscar, you win a Golden Globe, she's now on the finally getting the recognition she deserves for all her years in acting. Do you think, as much as she likes doing Star Trek, do you think they'll probably go, here's a Section 31 series that we've been trying to develop for the last 50 years. Should we do it? You know, I still can't see it happening.
Here's the thing. Michelle Yeoh is having so much fun playing Giorgio. Every time she's on screen, you can tell it is so blatantly obvious that she's just, not even chewing the series, she's just having so much fun with the role. I would believe that it's one of those instances where if she has to take a pay cut, which I bet you she'd do it. If she wants to. Michelle Yeoh strikes me as the kind of person who genuinely cares about having the fun.
Yeah, I think a lot of it
about
is
having fun.
Actors and agents, and Shah, you can probably speak to more of this than we can. But once you've won an Oscar, which I'm sure you agreed.
After my first Oscar, it became much harder to pick projects.
More of the process, but I think there's definitely going to be a cost escalation where Paramount or whoever makes those kind of decisions kind of going like, okay, she's leading, but is it worth it? Do we get that much of reception from Michelle Yeoh as a character to make it work? Obviously I'll watch Clem Fandango all day, but
it's their own fault. They had her 5 years ago on the hook for this show. She wanted to do this show and they didn't. And it's not hard. I mean, you say it's not hard to do. The spy genre is huge. Just go steal some stories from the spy/heist genre. Just steal them and put them in the Star Trek universe.
Go back and watch Mission Impossible from the 50s and just do all of those.
Mission Impossible, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, just all these. You can make it as much intrigue as you want. Just steal them.
Well, on the back of that, apparently, as soon as pretty much on literally the note that Michelle Yeoh was nominated for Best Actress, a news report came out from Paramount saying, of course Section 31 is still in development, we're still working on it, and there was a trademark filed recently that kind of renewed the license on the name, Section 31. So a lot of spinning plates there, I think.
Honestly, like I'm not usually the one to believe this excuse, but when it comes to like that Section 31 show, the excuse, look, we're both really busy and we're just trying to find the time to actually do it. Like, Michelle Yeoh just won an Oscar. Michelle Yeoh just won an Oscar, and there are 5 Star Trek series running concurrently, right? Like, freaking.
We don't mean to jinx you. We don't mean to jinx you, Michelle Yeoh.
If there's any justice, she'll fucking win it, okay? She deserved one 20 years ago. She deserves one now. Guess what? There are 5 concurrently running Star Trek series of various different types. There is a lot of money flying around to fund those Star Trek series. Michelle Yeoh is a busy fucking actress who is like quite certifiably insane, who will throw herself on dirt bikes onto trains. Like, it's just a case of making the schedules meet. But guess what? We'll be blessed if it happens, and I hope it does.
I mean, she's kissed Pierce Brosnan. Like, she was already set from that moment. That was.
We should all be so lucky.
Has any other
to kiss Michelle Yeoh?
Has any other Star Trek actor won an Academy Award?
Must have been.
Peter Weller.
I find it hard to believe they can.
No. Really? That can't be true.
That's a bit of trivia.
Joan Collins?
Yeah.
Joan Collins won anything?
Possibly.
Joan Collins did not win an Academy Award.
I don't know. I'm not.
Dude, I fucking Crash won an Academy Award.
She must have won an Academy Award.
Much. There's got to be someone. There's
Oh,
you know what?
Go on.
Maybe not in acting, but guess what? There is a certain Academy Award-winning director who was involved with Star Trek.
That's true. We're not talking about J.J. Abrams, are we?
Fuck no. if he has any Oscars, he deserves to hand them back.
Who won an Oscar? Who was a director?
Robert Wise.
Robert Wise. Oh, did he? What did he win it for?
I can't remember what it was.
Right.
Guess what? I was looking at trivia, but
oh, okay.
let me look it up for you. I will be your designated.
Fantastic. Yes, I got very distracted because my cat just came and decided to sit on my lap right now. And
he won 2 actually. He won Best Director and Best Picture for West Side Story and The Sound of Music.
Oh wow. Okay. Congratulations to him. Plummer. Oh, Christopher Plummer.
Congratulations to Robert.
Christopher Plummer. Does he want anything? Oh
yeah.
Plummer, I think could have done actually.
You're
yeah.
right. He must have.
Yeah.
We should use this Google thing I've heard so much about. F. Murray Abraham, yeah.
Well, I think he won for All the Money in the World or something along those lines.
What about The Sound of Music? He might have won for that, wouldn't he?
Yeah, no, he got an Academy Award, yeah.
There we go. There was somebody else. Fantastic. Okay.
I think there have been too many good actors in Star Trek for them not to have won.
Fantastic. Okay, Prodigy Season 1 has now concluded.
I've not finished it.
You've not finished it? Oh no, we're going spoiler free.
I need to find time. There's so much.
Absolutely. Oh, Louise Fletcher as well. Yes, Louise Fletcher also won an Academy Award. But yes, yes. No, find some time because it's absolutely excellent. Chat, give your thoughts. Well, with spoiler free as possible for stars, but give your thoughts on Prodigy Season 1 in chat if you don't mind. Without spoiling anything, I thought it was absolutely excellent. But there's a lot of talk coming about Season 2 and where that's going to progress. So,
Whoopi Goldberg as well.
Yeah, Whoopi Goldberg, nice.
Yes, Prodigy. The first half of the season is very much like a nice children's show. It introduces the characters, it's teaching morality lessons, and then it just goes full on into this cool, badass Star Trek arc story.
Yeah, it's just like, just fucking let's go. This is I like it. It arguably does what Picard wanted to do in terms of being an actual proper Star Trek sequel to the TNG era, way better than Picard ever did. It's way more interested in talking about Starfleet and what that means and the actual world than Picard is. Picard is way more interested in whatever it's currently interested in. Well, I don't even know if it's that interested in Picard sometimes. But Prodigy is just so well crafted. It really this is the perfect gateway for kids to get into Star Trek, and it's like it has so much optimism and faith, and just it doesn't talk down. There's lots of cool visual design elements. It's not afraid of. I feel like the guys who wrote on it, the guys who they did what Troll Hunters, I think was their big previous project.
Yes.
I feel like they heard people complaining, oh, well, it's going to be so hard to write a TNG series like after Voyager because the technology has gone to such a point where it's like it's just magic at this point. And then they said, fuck that, give me 2 warp cores stapled together, let's fucking go.
Call it a protostar.
And then they just had fun with it. Just fucking go and have fun with it. Like use that to expand your storytelling rather than being confined by what kind of story should be told, and it's been so much better for it.
Without spoiling, and again, I'll keep the spoiler free for those and yourself, stars, haven't watched it. Like what I appreciate about Season 1 is the whole story is nicely wrapped up. Like it is a well thought out story. It doesn't pull its punches, like it doesn't sort of hold your hand. There are obviously the little kids parts of like this is how a transporter works, and this is what a starship does, and this is how you go warp speed, and blah blah blah, and things like that, and this is what Starfleet represents, and all these different cultures, and there's a story that runs through with like Solom and the Divider and things like that, and Gwyn's people that runs, and it's really resolute. It's a nice loop with Janeway as well, and with Dal's arc, and less so with sort of Zero and Rok-Tahk and Murph as well.
They'll get their focus.
Yeah, they'll get their focus, but it just feels like, oh wow, you've actually crafted a whole season. It's serialized, but they are episodic in the same way. Like you have your holodeck episode, you have your away team episode, you have your first contact episode, you have all those like tropes.
You have your goofy, everyone is doing the Starfleet thing as a production. Like, oh god, that's my favorite episode so far. It's so good.
Yeah, that's a great one actually. But it never felt like it was like, oh, they're doing this really simple for kids. Like it felt like they're doing a lighter version to illustrate the points, but in a new way, and it was really good. I like it, as soon as I finished watching that last episode, it escalated up to like, oh wow, this is like top tier Star Trek. Like I know it's a kids show, but like this is really good. Like I can't help it.
In fact, Radarin says some light child slave labor and kidnapping for your general audience enjoyment. Guess what? One of the best kid shows out there is Clone Wars, and that has more war crimes per minute than any other show I can think of, up to and including Band of Brothers. So you know what? don't pull your punches. Kids will be able to handle it. They accept it. It's like it's adults that get kind of like put into a bit of a tizzy by that stuff more than kids, I find.
Yeah. And we get Kate Mulgrew back in a lot.
And the design.
Go on, you go, Shy. Go on.
No, I was just going to talk about the design elements, like all the creature design on Prodigy is excellent. The ship design is excellent. And the music by Michael Giacchino is spectacular. But yeah, let's go right into how well Kate Mulgrew is used.
Like when they announced that she was going to be in the series as Hologram Janeway, I thought like, oh, she'll be doing like a couple of lines here or there. No. Main focus. And then we get Admiral Janeway as well. As like we get you get a lot of Kate Mulgrew out of this, and that just made me so happy. Like that they were just determined to go like, no, she is main cast. This is essentially a sequel to Voyager at this point, especially with the Chakotay element as well.
Because Voyager needed a sequel because it was like there were so many loose ends left around. It's like, are you using your Kate Mulgrew responsibly? Are you using her to her full extent? You should be. Voyager did not always do this, and that was to its detriment. You know, like I think she's a supreme voice talent as well. She's great in Dragon Age. She's done a lot of voice acting work actually, and she's always nice. She has such a distinctive voice. I remember I think I was watching Bride of Chaotica at work one day just to do a battery test on the laptop, and like someone who had never seen Star Trek Voyager for even like she heard Voyager and she was able to do that so slightly nasally but incredibly distinctive Mulgrew voice within like 5 minutes. It's like that's how distinctive a voice and a talent she is. She's just that good.
No, she's stunning.
And she's a great detective as well.
That's right.
Yeah, we'll get on to Kate Columbo another
Kate
time.
loves a mystery.
Mrs. Columbo was eternal. But no, just to wrap it up, like, yeah, if anyone is listening to this and is still on the fence, like going like, oh, I can't watch Prodigy. That's like, it's like if you watch Lower Decks, you should watch Prodigy. I guarantee you will get something out of it. And where Stars, where have you actually got up to? Which episode was the last one you watched?
I just watched the one with Dahl's heritage, and no hard spoilers. All I will say is I'm really fucking sick and tired. Like, you know that fucking meme of like it's that Always Sunny meme, and they're pointing at a picture and they're like, I'm sick of seeing this guy.
Yeah,
but every Soong, every fucking one of them can go in a hole. They have a problem. It's always them. They're always a problem.
Yeah. Hey, it opens up to a Brent Spiner cameo somewhere down the line.
That man will do anything. He was in fucking Independence Day 2, god damn it.
Okay.
Was he in 2?
I'm pretty sure he was in 2.
Was he in 2? I thought he was only in the first one. I've not watched the second one. I heard it was awful.
I'm pretty sure he's in... Guess what? I'm surprised.
Let me Google that for you.
Comes up. Oh, he was
Are you
in
really
2?
telling
wow.
me?
Yeah, he was in 2. Yeah, apparently.
Are you really telling me that the sequel to the incredibly well-crafted blockbuster of Independence Day was bad? What?
Well, speaking of immovable objects we can't seem to get away from, do you remember how last time we did a Star Trek show, we announced that Wesley was going to be the Terran Emperor in Star Trek Online?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
yeah, I remember that.
Now, his mother is joining Star Trek Online, and Beverly Crusher is coming. The Mirror Beverly Crusher, as voiced by Gates McFadden, is going to be is going to be one of the main focus. The main focus of the story, which somehow involves Terran Emperor Wesley Crusher gaining control of V'Ger and laying waste to... what the fuck is going on with that game? I need to pick that back up again because the storyline is just good. I felt like it was going back. I felt like it was going on like a kind of sensible route where we do like missions and actually kind of like the storyline was getting a bit more political, but this just sounds balls to the wall crazy. But apparently she's there to try and assassinate him somehow, but there we are.
Nice.
Yes.
Perfect. Those writers know what they're doing. Now, guess what? I will not be satisfied until I have, like, Wesley with V'Ger powers versus, like, I don't know. I'm thinking Naomi Wildman with, like, caretaker powers. I don't know. Make it happen. I want the Super Saiyan
what
fight.
Would be the equivalent of V'Ger that isn't the Q? Like, would it be caretaker? I think...
Oh, the Dowd.
The Dowd, yeah, that'd be a good one. Or Trelane's race.
That's
not really the Q.
Yeah, exactly. Organians. There's a million of them.
It could be the whale probe.
Apparently
yeah, give me Naomi Wildman and she's riding the whale probe like fucking Dr. Strangelove. We're perfect.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Instead of the sphere in that like column of light that comes to the probe, it's just Naomi Wildman like in the energy like.
Apparently, I'm being corrected by Cairo in chat. It's not a Vija. It's called the other, which is Mirror Vija, called Secure. Okay, I'm going to have to play this.
AKA Vija.
Yeah, Vija.
AKA Vija.
Which will
that was a lot of words to say. It is actually Vija. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
we know what you mean. I'm just.
I don't. Yeah.
We'll get.
I don't play that game, but this sounds amazing.
Yeah,
like,
it sounds bonkers.
I need to go back.
I love that their writers are going so far with it.
I think as soon as Picard was announced and they just went, yeah, everything's non-canon, they just went, oh, we can do what we like then. And they kind of did.
Fuck it.
Like, who gives a fuck? This universe is like trash anyway. We're non-canon. Because that was the closest thing to canon apart from the books was Star Trek Online, and then they just went, nah.
I think you probably enjoy the STO canon more than you enjoy the books.
Oh yeah, God, the books. Well, yeah. I want to start. I've said this before. I do want to start.
I know. I'm trying.
We will do it.
I'm trying to find it.
It's fine.
I would love that because I need to read more in my life. So I want just the V'ger storyline. So in the Mirror universe, V'ger goes, it's damaged, it gets rescued by these sentient robots, gets repaired by them, and then V'ger just destroys them and absorbs all their being.
Probably, yeah.
Is that the basic like storyline? Oh, that's so good.
It is
so good. It's like
control.
If it's AKA CQER, so I'm guessing that's the same as V'ger is Voyager Conqueror. I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, Conqueror.
Because the Mirror Universe probe, of course, would be.
But hang on,
Conqueror.
didn't the Mirror Universe divergence start with when Cochrane shot the Vulcan? So Voyager would have been no.
No, because you remember in Enterprise, Phlox says that he can track the divergence way earlier than that.
Oh wow.
I think he mentions that Shakespeare is the same, but other than that, there's quite a few businesses going way back.
Okay.
Because if you remember, that even in the Enterprise intro, they also show you stuff like the sailing ship, implying that it goes back at least as far as the Age of Conquest and Discovery.
Gosh. Okay. So, I might have to look.
I wonder if it's another probe, like if it's Cassini probe or something.
I'm guessing it's the Mirror. I would guess from that it's the Mirror Universe version of Voyager, which would not be called Voyager because that's a pussy name for pussies. Let's call it the Conqueror.
Conqueror, exactly.
I'm sure it had like a gun like taped onto it. Like,
that's right.
Can't do it.
It was.
Do you think how they?
It was a gold. It was a gold gun.
With
like different things etched onto it.
I'm thinking like
you know how they sent Voyager, golden gun. Just
they
like
sent out Voyager with the vinyl out of just like here's like the basic things for maths and everything. No, it's just Metallica and just some death metal on there. Just like we got Mirror Carl Sagan. Could you imagine that? Yeah, thank you, Renarian.
He just pulls out an M16, just lays waste to a load of Vulcans.
Mirror Carl Sagan. I want Carl Sagan with goatee just talking about how
we're made of shit.
How we can find alien life and kill it.
Everything. He's a real nihilist. Everything's pointless. Don't bother looking into the stars.
There are billions and billions of worlds for us to conquer.
Yes. You're made of shit and you'll always be shit.
All right. Thanks, Admiral Vance.
All right. Okay. So, another news, a recurring Eaglemoss news for those of us that collect our little model Enterprises and starships. The Eaglemoss went bankrupt a few months back, and there's been some news that for those that picked up the Enterprise D weekly model building thing, where you get a magazine every week, and it's a little piece of the Enterprise D, and you end up buying a life-size Enterprise D for something like £2,000. Apparently, Fan Home has now picked up the subscription model for that, so that will be Yes, hello.
Did you say a life-size Enterprise?
No, not life-size. He meant scale model.
Scale model.
I got that too.
Hey, listen, for £2,000 a life-size model Enterprise D, yeah, I'm in.
That's a fucking deal. I'd live there.
I will need several cranes and a team of workmen to assemble it, but and may disrupt several towns in my area. But hello, but
fine.
Yes, you will be able to complete your subscription if you are a subscriber of that, and it suddenly got cut off, and you only had half a source outsource a section and one they sell, then yes, apparently Fan Home are the company that are taking that back up. So there's some news there. Hopefully they'll find a company that can make the models again for a lot cheaper than what they were at, because paying, well, I think it was like £50 for an XL size model, and I believe if you're after the Enterprise F, which I have here, I believe you're going to go on eBay and pay some extortionate prices for those, because they've suddenly hit the very rare market. I think if you weren't buying the models after Eagle Moss went under, you're a bit out of luck now. I think even on Amazon.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it, but I was recently given a USS Discovery.
Oh wow, that's one
of the few that I didn't have. Yeah, my friend Marie got it for me for Christmas, and I was like, "Thank you." I literally cannot find these anymore.
Cannot, yeah. So. I wish I bought it when I saw it on. I think I saw it on. It was on sale for like £40.
They were out of stock for the longest time. Like all the hero ships were out of stock for the longest time. Well, now hopefully people can get them.
This goes back to the recurring problem that Star Trek need to be better with their merchandising. Like, there is so many things that they ship out to, like, fan sets, to Eagle Moss, to other companies that, you know, Star Wars don't do that. Star Wars have a very good, like, merchandising thing, like a lot of series do. And, like, me and you stars, we wandered into Forbidden Planet together when we had our little trip down to London. We were just like, where's the Star Trek stuff? There's, like, a small shelf with, like, all this third-party kind of half-baked stuff and a book of art that we got for £3.
Yeah, do you want some wallets? Do you want a few action figures? Like, why can I remember when I was younger, I was able to walk in and I could get a big, decent model of the Excelsior, for example. It's like that, even that they don't do anymore.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I had that through Diamond Selects. Did you ever
I think it was Diamond Select,
Diamond Select toys?
I wanted that toy so badly, but my dad wouldn't buy it for me.
Oh.
I used to have a few models.
Do you guys...
Oh, God.
No, I was just commenting, like, as an aside, it's interesting you guys have a Forbidden Planet, because we have a Forbidden Planet store here in New York City, too. It's a comic book store and also a collectible store.
I think
it might be the same thing then,
Yeah, they're quite, you know, I mean, yeah, they're quite universal, but the Star Trek selection is terrible. Like, if you want any Star Wars, Harry Potter, or Dragon Ball Z, then they've got that on or any kind of, like, anime stuff. Like, they've got it under troves, but, like, trying to find, like, I remember seeing, like, the coolest thing they had on that shelf was a recreation of the Spock Kirk dying scene from The Wrath of Khan in Funko Pop form. And I was just like, this is cool.
Yeah.
But it's Funko Pops, and I don't like those. They're horrible.
Yeah, but look, see the cold, dead, lifeless eyes really sells Spock's
but it was the whole recreation of the engineering shell and everything, and I was just like, this looks really cool, but I just wish it wasn't Funko Pop, because I would have maybe bought that.
Well, Hallmark made an ornament of that scene, too.
Oh, did they really?
Of them, like, at the glass, I believe
on the
so.
Third on the third day, Spock did rise again.
It's like poetry, it rhymes. But yes, ongoing complaints
Guess
about
what? Star Trek has never had a stupid thing like that. I'm glad about that.
I believe there is a Wesley Crusher line of, like, what was it? It's just like, oh, where it comes to women, I have no problem. That's his Anakin Skywalker line.
That's intentionally funny, though. I think everyone was dunking on Wesley in that episode.
To be fair, he did make it with Ashley Judd, so we can't really compare.
I know. What's your track record?
Well, yeah.
Wesley's doing fine.
Yeah. And guess what? Will Wheaton's grown up to be a very handsome man who's, like, appearing on Critical Role, so he's doing all right for himself.
He's doing very fine for himself. I was watching the, if you didn't see it, it was the Trek Talks charity stream that they ran. A load of big name actors came on and did a whole charity stream, and there was him and John Billingsley went to the original location where TNG was first shot, the very first shot in the rainforest, the rainforest, in the forest where the holodeck rainforest scene was filmed. They went there. They went to the exact same spot and the exact same scene. And then John Billingsley was like, should we go sit on this bench? And John Billingsley said, like, I think it's time we had a martini. And Will Wheaton's like, yeah, I think we should have a martini. And John Billingsley just looks over and goes, well, did you bring one? And then it just cuts. And I was like, yeah, brilliant. But yeah, that was really good.
Wait, that's an actual, like, wooded area?
Yes, yeah, that's a park in somewhere in America.
Oddly enough, they did not create a holodeck.
Yeah, that was not a soundstage. It looks like a soundstage.
Well, I thought it was a soundstage.
Yeah. It was actually a river you can go and visit if you want to.
Even in America, I don't think that you would struggle that much to find rainforest to film in.
Look, George Lucas green screened sand about shooting in Los Angeles, for God's sakes. All right? The guy could have just driven a half hour. No, he could have driven a half hour and, like, stuck Natalie Portman on a piece of sand and shot it, but no.
At the risk of sort of devolving into Star Wars again, wasn't the first Star Wars shot in Morocco? So they do some set stuff.
Possibly. I don't know about.
Yeah. Anyway, so we've had a little bit of news about Lower Decks Season 4, which is, I imagine we'll be getting a trailer for that soon-ish, because we're going to have the crossover with Strange New Worlds, where we're going to see Tawny Newsome and Jack Quaid coming on as real life people, say action figures then, real life people onto Strange New Worlds, which I'm very excited
I mean, people
for.
have been turned into puppets on Lower Decks. I wouldn't be surprised if someone gets
Exactly.
turned into an action figure at some point.
As directed by Jonathan Frakes as well, which makes it even more exciting. He's been out there talking a bit about it as well, and how excited he is for that. But there has been some teasers from Mike Mahan about Lower Decks Season 4. There's going to be a lot of...
I need it.
There's going to be a lot of T'Lyn, the very expectant Vulcan from the... was it Hech or Teshwu or whatever it was episode? The Klingons, Vulcans, and... Who's the other race in that? The Paklin and the Borg. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Episode of Lower Decks, which is great. But T'Lyn, who at the end of Season 3, if you haven't seen it, has now joined the Cerritos crew. Very excited that we're going to get a lot more of her. Because I think she ended up very quickly becoming a fan favourite.
Well, people appreciate the Mavericks of the race, don't they? They appreciate the exemplifier of a race that goes against... Yeah, no. Oh, dude. Like, I think that might be one of the funniest scenes in all of Lower Decks. Like, T'Lyn just giving this perfectly level-headed analysis that's, like, maybe a tiny bit snippy. It's like, she is out of control. It's like, that is peak Star Trek humor. I'm sorry. That's even funnier than anything in Voyage Home. That's fucking hilarious. It's fucking great.
Yeah, lots more T'Lyn. Apparently it's going to be an episode on Orion. So we're going to see more Tendi stuff.
World building
family family
Tendi family
drama
stuff. Yeah, it could be fun because there's a lot of not Tendi kind of goes from like oddball goof to just like I'm amazing at being a pirate kung fu expert. It's like okay. So a little bit expansion.
So
on that
when this Strange New Worlds episode is a homage to the Enterprise holodeck.
Oh, that's gonna be a few jokes about it. You know it's gonna be.
You're gonna be okay with that?
Do you reckon that's what they're going to do? I'm kind of in my head. I feel like it's going to be Mariner and Boimler going back to the past. I think it's going to be time travel as opposed to.
I think it's going to be time. I think they've confirmed it's time travel.
Is it? Have they?
Oh, is it?
I think they have. Yeah. I think they've confirmed it
because they're doing an homage to each of the TOS movies each season, right? Like last season was Search for Spock in the poster.
Oh, the poster. Yeah. Well, the Strange New Worlds Lower Decks crossover is in the Strange New Worlds season, not Lower Decks. So that's going to be part of. That's going to be an episode of that, as opposed to the other, which is, interesting. There's also going to be a go on.
Especially when Mariner's like, "Oh, you're Pike." Oh.
Yeah, but the best thing is Pike will turn back and go, "Oh," because he knows as well.
Exactly.
And she's like,
"You go ugly, man. You go down ugly."
I can't wait to see that because those guys are so. Like, I can imagine. Because everyone's seen Jack Quaid in The Boys. If you don't know, he plays. I forget the name of the character in The Boys, but he's really good on that. Huey, that's right. Yeah,
he's the boy. He's the boy.
He's the boy, and he can play that kind of same Boimler manic kind of.
I need to see the live action Boimler scream. I need to see the hair. Hear it.
Gotta be the hair.
I need to see the purple hair. Yeah, I need to see it. It's gonna be perfect.
I need to see bold Boimler. Where's my bold Boimler at?
You know what I need? I need Mariner to. You were talking about the Enterprise homage. Even if it is time travel, I need her to be the chef. I need her to knock out the Strange New World chef and pretend to be the chef. That's what I want. I need that. That's the one where it's like, okay, that's just.
Seems like Riker was the chef. She's just there in the white thing and the.
Precisely. That's exactly what I need.
There's also going to be a romantic episode, which we infer from whatever we can from that, and also separately a wedding. So there's going to be a wedding, and a lot of people speculate there's going to be Ta'ana and Shax, which would be quite fun.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that.
See that being a wedding. I mean, they've already had quite a tumultuous relationship in the last 3 seasons, as it were.
I'm trying to think about who. I hope that romantic episode that we get some resolution on Jennifer and Mariner's relationship, because that was left kind of in limbo at the end of season 3.
It was a bit, wasn't it? There'll be a kind of. Have you guys been watching Harley Quinn, the anime series?
No, I've seen clips, but
very good.
Excellent.
I've just finished the first season. I really like it, but there's also, I'm well aware of the Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy romantic stuff there. But yeah, the kind of Mariner, Jen kind of relationship stuff. There could be an avenue for that. So it's very good.
You see it. I'd be down for that.
Apparently, there's going to be some more Peanut Hamper, but not a whole episode. Oh, yeah. What did you guys think about the Peanut Hamper episode of season 3? Because I don't think we've ever discussed it.
I liked the Peanut Hamper. I know people were out on it. A lot of people it lost them. But to me, it was just I appreciated that they're like, okay, we're this cartoon. We can go completely tongue in cheek. Let's just do a deep dive on this character that was floating away in space. It was essentially like, what if Arium landed on a planet somewhere?
Yeah, not wrong.
Get me more Hannah Cheeseman, then yeah, fine.
Well, it was also like they didn't like she didn't have a redemption arc, right? Normally it's like, this is a pastoral story where I go to the country and I learn from their ways and they teach me to be a better person. No, it was just, I'm just an awful person. I'm going to continue being awful.
Yeah, exactly. I loved that episode. I thought it was really, really, really funny. And it's like everyone was like, it serves no greater purpose to the wider plot. It really obviously does. Season 4 is absolutely going to have more AI uprising bullshit going on. Like, between Agimus, between Badgie resurfacing in the Alamo's code,
that's right,
and like Peanut Hamper, there is absolutely going to be the wider scale threat of season 4. They are building up to it.
Oh, and the Texan
Anyone who
class
says
as well,
that
was a whole thing, wasn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. Guess what? It's all Star Trek is madly in love with the evil AI computer trope. I think it's arguably one of the progenitors of that trope.
Well, sci-fi in generally. Yeah, sci-fi in general is obsessed with the singularity and like artificial intelligence coming to destroy us all. So
precisely, it's like Lower Decks is like very much. If you tell me that it's not going to be a season 4 wider threat of more AI going like nuts, like fucking Landru will probably join the evil bad guy party at some point. We already got one reference. We already got one. We're totally going to get more AI stuff, and I'm down for it. So that's what that relevance has, and it's also fucking hilarious because the bird people were great.
I don't know. Peanut Hamper is fine in small doses. I liked her in her debut episode because she was an ancillary character. I didn't like the whole episode of her. Well, I don't know. The whole focus of Lower Decks for me is about the Lower Decks crew. And I feel like this kind of diversion was a bit weird. And it felt more Rick and Morty than Star Trek. Like, a lot of people sort of ragged on Lower Decks at the start because they're like, it's just going to be Star Trek, Rick and Morty. And I think this has been widely disproven, and Lower Decks is excellent. But this kind of felt more on those kind of the Rick and Morty sideline adventures where just crazy shit happens for no reason, and it's a bit... it's a bit oddball, and I don't know. I find the whole romance between Peanut Hamper and the male Birdman, like, that kind of just a bit like, we know this is a trope, we're playing on the trope, and we're going to accentuate it and sort of nudge, wink, wink a whole way through it. But I was just watching this kind of going, what the fuck am I watching? Like, I'm not watching Lower Decks, I'm watching a Peanut Hamper series, and I don't know if I enjoy it.
No, man. I feel like that idea of, we're going to wink, wink, nudge, nudge at the trope and accentuate, that's literally what Lower Decks does all the time.
They do, but this was in a kind of in a different... like in a more obscure way. I can't put words on why I didn't. Really I
think Shy has exactly the point. It's meant to take the piss out of all of those episodes. Pardon me, of Star Trek, where they beam down to a planet. Someone, Data loses his memory and becomes, the Frankenstein of the settlement with the radioactive rocks, or Janeway gets bonked on the head and has to get taken care of by a crazy man who's lost his wife. This is absolutely a Star Trek story type trope that's been happened a billion times. And then they said, okay, cool. What happens if they don't learn their lesson and they absolutely get nothing out of it?
That was funny. When she just goes, no,
yeah, exactly. No, I'm awful. Guess what? That's the joke. Yeah, that's the joke.
It just took a while to get to that. Yeah, I think. Yeah,
but it's like as long as everything along the way was an interesting story payoff, and it had a new alien race that we didn't know anything about, but its own unique culture and plenty of good punchlines. I don't know. I don't see the issue personally.
But anyway. if anyone in this chat should be okay with a slow build up, it should be you, Idol.
Well, Before we get to that. But anyway, more Peanut Hammer coming in season 4, but apparently not like a whole episode as we had before. But anyway, there are 2 new actors just been announced for Strange New Worlds. It's a bit small aside, but coming alongside the legendary Carol Kane, who we already know is coming as the new chief engineer to replace Hemmer. Noah LaManna.
I'm not booing Carol Kane. I'm booing Hemmer.
I was going to say we had a small jingle there.
Yeah. I love Carol Kane.
Noah LaManna is coming on as Chief J, so another chief, maybe a Chief Kyle replacement, perhaps, and also Adelaide Kane in an unannounced role. So one of these is going to be regular. Chief J apparently is going to be a bit more regular, and I believe Adelaide Kane is going to be a one-off, possibly one episode kind of thing. So if you've heard those names before, which I hadn't, yeah, they are coming to Strange New Worlds, new casting announcements. But I'm intrigued to see about a new chief. Like, raises the point, like the chief designation on Starfleet ships. So obviously, we've had Chief O'Brien and Chief Kyle as well. It's non-enlisted ranks. I'm very happy to see them kind of going outside of the usual rank structure. You know, ensign, lieutenant. You know, people there, and seeing some of the sort of almost sort of not quite lower decks, but enlisted officers that have some power. Chief Kyle, obviously, we know has some power because of the way that the
he's the lower deck tyrant.
He is the absolute tyrant. He's a monster, apparently. According to
I love that line. That throwaway line is so good.
What was it? The ensigns that don't. They're trying to play Enterprise Bingo. That's right. In the episode,
it's Christina and the.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I'm interested to see another chief in this rank structure.
Will he be chief of transport, or is just chief something like chief citizen?
He could be like
chief.
That could be literally anything. It could be a chief of operations. It could be chief of. Anything.
We're going back to that bad TOS planet with the where Kirk gets his memories erased, and he has to join the indigenous tribes, and yeah.
Yes, I mean the prototype for the Peanut Hamper episode. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Wrapping it back around.
It was progressive 60 years ago. Not yet.
Yeah.
Oh, Shatner, what are you gonna do? Final last bit of news. There was the autobiography of various captains that have come out in the years. The latest one, which is written by Derek Tyler Attico, is the autobiography of Benjamin Sisko. And if the entire first chapter isn't just him as Hawk, I'm going to be very disappointed.
No, you know what I want?
Go on.
I want it to be a choose your own adventure type thing, where you open up the chapter, you read the first chapter, and it's like about his early life, and then you get to the final page of the first chapter, and it says like, for more on my time on DS9, go to chapter 15, because then it'll be non-linear.
I see.
I want a non-linear autobiography. That's what I want.
Well, what it should have is a recipe at the beginning of every year.
Oh, yeah.
No, this is Benjamin Sisko.
Finally,
Joseph Sisko. Joseph Sisko would have the recipe.
No, Ben would do that. Ben loves that.
Suppose, yeah.
I want to know the secrets of his paprikash.
Too much paprika. That's what you put in the paprikash. But that's coming out in
Is there such a thing as too much paprika? I don't feel like there is.
No, there really isn't. Spice. I adore paprika. I love chorizo and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, you can never have too much garlic. You can never have too much paprika. There is just no limit on those things.
Or lemon. Well, lemon you can
you can have too much lemon.
No, you can have too much lemon.
Yeah. Definitely. Unless you're eating a lemon.
But you're right about garlic.
Lemon, because you can't get any more lemon than eating a lemon. Anyway.
Welcome to Trek Treats, where we talk about food and Trek universe.
Yeah, that's the butter zone. That's this weekend. We'll get onto that.
You know what I want? I just realized that doesn't exist and I need it to exist. You know that bit in The Simpsons where that guy from Shelbyville eats the lemon and then his face just scrunches up? Mm-hmm. I need that, but it's Kai Wynn, and the label needs to be labeled like the aspirations of the Bajoran race. Like, that's what I need. I need that, because that's what it feels like dealing with Wynn every time.
Yes, sorry.
Rest in peace, Louise Fletcher.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Oscar award-winning.
Guess
Louise
what?
Fletcher.
Iconic.
Yes.
Iconic.
So yes, the autobiography of Benjamin Sisko. Watch him, read about him, like kicking ass in Utopia Planitia and his young life, pretending, am I a prophet or am I not? Walt Koenig asks, what if you're Jack Lemmon eating a lemon? That is too much lemon. I think it's time that we pay respects to possibly the genesis of things to come, the start of a great film franchise, as we talk about. We've talked about Generations, we've talked about First Contact, Insurrection, and Nemesis on previous Star Trek. No, on the Trek shows. I'm getting my shows confused now. Now it's time to go wrap it all background and go to the 1970s, very famous Star Trek. Needs no title, yet it has one, the motion picture, which brings back the Star Trek cast from the 60s into the 70s. Where would you like to start with this? Because I can talk a lot about this movie.
Why don't you talk a lot about it for like the next 3 minutes or so?
3 minutes? Okay.
Okay, he's got to go.
Yeah, go on, start.
Okay,
Go.
So I want to start by setting the scene, right? So 1979 is a really, really important year for movies. Not because Star Trek the Motion Picture came out, because it was a box office success, but it was not, I would say, massively influential on the sci-fi genre. If anything, I would say that Star Trek the Motion Picture and its relative lack on influence stuff that came after has a lot to do with the fact
so much
that you had within those few years, 1970s sci-fi is a very specific animal, right? And you get a lot of challenges to that animal in the last half of the decade, because you start off and it's all UFO and it's all Jerry Anderson and like Battlestar Galactica, and then you get a little bit further along. 1977 hits. You get Star Wars, which is you have to keep in mind, Star Wars is part of the cultural landscape now, but it was not at the time. Even though the first thing you think of when you think of Star Wars is probably like the Death Star interiors or something very sleek and shiny, Star Wars is actually really, really different in sci-fi when it came out, because it was so dirty and like normal looking. Like, Luke lives in a fucking sand hut with fucking like shit all over the floor and like grubby electronics. It kind of was like fucking the Owen family like farmstead is kind of a fucking tip. That's the reason why Luke wants to leave, right?
Wow, Amber is so offended right now. I can't believe you're.
Yeah, I'm sure her skeleton will have a lot to say to me about it. But that's the thing. Like, Star Wars, it was a gritty, realistic, to quote unquote, way of doing the future. It was not all people in leotards strutting around sleek 1970s offices and space age. That's what is so good about Star Wars, especially the original one, is the high contrast between the way that people on Tatooine live versus the Death Star. That's the good visual language, right? 1 year later, you have Superman, which is a very different way of doing sci-fi. Even though it's still comic books, it's still essentially about the visit of an alien man and that kind of effect on the landscape. And then, 1979, the same year, you have Moonraker, which is cashing in on the Star Wars craze and is absolute garbage. And then you also have Alien. And Alien has way more in common with Star Wars than it does with either Star Trek, Battlestar Galactica, UFO, or Moonraker, I would say. It is way more interested in the space trucker aesthetic. Like, arguably, it's what helped codify that. And if you look at 1980s sci-fi, at all the stuff that came after it, if you think Terminator, if you think Aliens, if you think of all of that stuff, you do not think Star Trek motion picture, you do not think Superman, you do not think Battlestar Galactica 1980, you don't think Moonraker, you think UFO, you think Alien, and you think Star Wars. That they dominated the cultural landscape and they changed what sci-fi was like. And in that respect, motion picture hit literally as that vision of sci-fi of people in beige walking around really brightly lit like bridges and big sci-fi special effects that were kind of dominating the movie, kind of fell a bit more out of favor because Alien especially is way more interested in talking about the characters and the paranoia of it rather than being an effects thing. The alien you barely even see for the majority of the movie. That's part of the appeal of the horror movie. And it's like TMP is like almost one of the last of that kind of breed of sci-fi. And it says a lot that motion picture came out and then Wrath of Khan was what followed, and Wrath of Khan has a lot more in common with like Star Wars or like I say Alien in terms of its aesthetic, in terms of being like darker, more character driven, a bit more violent as well. And in terms of a blueprint for the Star Trek franchise, for better or for worse, because there are some downsides to this, Wrath of Khan is what won in terms of what set the blueprint for the Star Trek franchise. So that's my setting of the scene in terms of what motion picture has done to the Star Wars.
Got to have a bit of history for it, definitely.
No, you actually hit
to consider the context.
Yeah, you absolutely hit correctly, because Star Trek the Motion Picture has the same problem as another 1979 science fiction movie release, The Black Hole. Right. Here you have two movies which are sort of trapped between two eras of movie making. Like The Black Hole feels very much like old Forbidden Planet, early 20th century science fiction, trying to move ahead. You know, I think it has Ernest Borgnine in it, for God's sake.
Oh, wow.
The Black Hole. It's trying to move into a new era, and the motion picture less so, but it does have some of those old influences.
Well, it even starts with a musical interlude, which is really classic.
Right. Which I love seeing before Lawrence of Arabia. Hearing an overture before Star Trek, maybe not the best way to excite your audience.
Yeah, for real.
Although I do love overtures before movies. But there are good influences there too, right? Like, it's Star Wars, Alien, and 2001, which predates.
Yeah, 2001 is the big one. Yeah,
2001 is like the big sci-fi movie of the mid 20th century that influences everything that comes, even till today.
Absolutely.
And you see heavy influence in the motion picture here, in good and bad ways.
Yeah, it's about the visual, literal odyssey of the Enterprise through, and I don't feel like. So this is where I feel like the motion picture actually puts its first foot wrong, in that what is Star Trek, the original series, about? And there is a correct answer to what TOS is actually about and why TOS works.
William Shatner's hairpiece.
To a degree. The actual reason
you're not wrong.
why TOS works is the relationship between Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, and the exploration of the human experience through them. That is why TOS works. And that is why you can take 2001, arguably one of the best sci-fi masterpieces ever made, and use that as the blueprint for your Star Trek movie, and guess what? You've lost the point. That is not what Star Trek is ultimately about. A Star Trek is about character over concept most of the time.
Well, against the backdrop of a mystery. Like the mystery part, the unexplored, the unknown, that part works.
Yeah.
But go on, come on, Idol.
Jump in here. I'd like you guys to get your all of it out before I go on, because I have.
No.
I'm
actually not disagreeing with a lot of stuff you're saying here.
Yeah.
Like
No, it's an interesting conversation to have, because I like having this is a movie you can have an intellectual conversation about, because it does want to try and have a conversation about what it means to be human. Eventually it gets to that point. But my problem with it is that, like, you're trying to take what is essentially the plot to a episode of TOS that we've already done. We've already done like the probe, like trying to learn about being humanity. It was a very different context, of course, but we did Nomad, right? And you have 2 hours, 12 minutes, at least with a theatrical cut. I'm not sure what the director has clocks in at. And we just aren't talking about these things for as long as we could be. We are giving these issues that are really interesting and are being played out in a that's the great thing about Star Trek in a way, is that it's like, here's a high concept idea, here's AI, here's transcending humanity, here's like the transcendence of the physical form, and you do it in 45 minutes. Cool, let's do a morality play, let's do it. And then you give 2 hours and 12 minutes, and the best you can come up with is a really good conversation between Kirk and Spock in the sickbay, and then the rest of it just kind of we're not talking about stuff enough. We're not actually having conversations about things that I want to have conversations about. We're too busy spending time on Stephen Collins' actual monster and his ridiculous romantic relationship with Ilea that has no momentum. It has no real... I feel like especially that plot thread hurts the movie because it turns what should be the intellectual exploration of I want to be part of something greater. I want to transcend my physical limit. I want to do Ghost in the Shell to a degree 20 years before that movie comes out, and then reduces it to, yeah, but I want to be with my ex-girlfriend, though. And I feel like that's a disservice to what it's a disservice to the concept, honestly. It's like, I want to see, it's like, to a degree, I want to see someone who is fascinated by this idea, not because it looks like Ilea, but because of what it represents in terms of life forms and humanity, in terms of mechanical life. That is a throwaway line, and that's way more interesting than spending half an hour on Stephen Collins and Persis Kambata looking at each other while she's got a silly little bandana on her head. Come on, guys! Talk about the stuff that's interesting. Also,
look,
I'm happy wasting Persis. Like, she's a great actress. She's given nothing to do in this movie, really.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'd actually be happy to stare at Persis Kambata for 2 hours on the screen. I don't know why she didn't have a bigger career. And this brings me back to what I was going to say. Like, this movie, this movie, was sort of hurriedly converted from a series.
Yeah.
If people don't know, they were making Star Trek Phase 2.
I mean, Phase 2 was
versus Kambata
massively. It was very far in development when all of a sudden, like, there was about 5 or 6
footage,
years in development when they suddenly just went, now it's going to be a film. Like, they had directors lined up, they had story writers, they had scripts. Like, a lot of those scripts ended up going on to TNG Season 1. Like, Phase 2 was a big thing. Sorry,
the Decker... I was going to say the Decker-Ilea relationship, they just completely just changed the names a little and made it into
Riker
Troy. Like, even but Troy even looks like Persis Kambata a little bit. And Riker actually looks a little bit like Decker too, but before the beard.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they just that's a lot of what the movie feels like. It feels like a little hurried in transition to making it from a TV show to a movie. To me, like
what
the movie starts off, it's you got this great alien, you got the new Klingons look great. They're actually very similar to the Discovery aliens a little bit in the opening.
Yes, they do actually, yeah.
The ships are good, the station's good, and then it cuts to the 70s Starfleet actors, and it just crashes. You're just, what are these
I was thinking that when they show you the Epsilon 9 station and it's these two motherfuckers who look like they'd be not out of place in UFO, I was literally thinking of Jerry Anderson's UFO, which is a show that I love. It's just corny as fuck, but I do enjoy it. But that was the same energy they were bringing to it. It's just so lifeless. And it's like, I feel like I actually have to put the blame on Robert Wise here, because if you look at his filmography, it is a lot of good drama, and then I'm pretty sure he did like 1 or 2 sci-fi films before this, and the big one he'd done in 1973 was called The Andromeda Strain, which has been lauded by scientific experts as one of the most realistic ways of showing how a bacteriological process, or virological, I think it is in that one, would progress. But they also derided it for being really, really dry. Because the Michael Crichton thing, of course, it's fucking dry. I love the writer, but But here's the thing: I found out this really interesting bit of trivia while I was looking up the Andromeda Strain to see what he had done previously in sci-fi. Right now, in the Andromeda Strain, the cast of characters in the novel was modified for the film, included by replacing the male Dr. Peter Leavitt in the novel with the female Dr. Ruth Leavitt. Screenwriter Nelson Giddings suggested the change to Robert Wise, who at first was not enthusiastic, as he initially pictured the female Dr. Leavitt as a largely decorative character reminiscent of Raquel Welch's character in the 1966 film Fantastic Voyage. That was 1973, 6 years before TMP, and the moment I read largely decorative character, I thought of fucking Ilea, and I was like, you know what? Yeah.
Well, you know, we all know Roddenberry. Like, I imagine those two got on quite well.
Oh, probably, yeah. But you know what? I actually have to, like, I think there is a good script in here. There's a good concept. It's like, I feel like there is a conversation to be had that this film wants to bring up. It just doesn't get there in time to make it really interesting. And I feel like it is mostly down to the director. So, compare and contrast. Shai, you'll love this. Compare and contrast the way that Kirk is introduced in the motion picture versus the Wrath of Khan.
Yep.
In the Wrath of Khan, it's the simulator room. All right, open her up. Slide open, giant beam of light and shadow, heroic figure, gives the conversation with Saavik, instantly established, right? How is he introduced in the motion picture? You see him through the little viewport of the shuttle. He steps out. He has that nothing conversation with like Sonak, who is now the character who should have just been cut from the movie because he serves no purpose.
I think Sonak was originally
like, okay,
the Phase 2, not the actor, but the character was originally going to be the Phase 2 Spock, because Nimoy said, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until late until...
Cool.
Yeah, well, yeah, it wasn't until late until the motion picture was said.
That's cool trivia. Cut it out of the fucking movie.
Yeah.
The actor
serves no purpose.
The actor on the station that dies was the original Vulcan replacement for Nimoy on Phase 2.
Yes, that was correct.
Literally...
And he ended up in Next Generation Season 1 Symbiosis, I think it was, wasn't it? Him and Joaquin's actor. Yeah, sorry. Trivia there.
Yeah. No, it's just like, it's cool trivia. Why are we doing this? Like, the transporter accident is so memed and so ingrained in every Trek fan's consciousness, not because it's necessarily like the most well-acted thing in the world. Like, I feel like both William Shatner and like Gracie Whitney aren't giving their 100% there. Yeah, accident. Yeah, no, it was premeditated murder with certain.
I have something to say about this later, by the way. Just go on.
It is the most out of nowhere bits of cruelty in the entire franchise that serves fucking no purpose. Other than to make you look like absolute cunts when McCoy refuses to use that same transporter 10 minutes later. Fucking hell, I wouldn't use that. You're still hosing down the bits of the fucking science officer. You're telling me I should use that? Fuck you.
Right. Which just shows that Murderer Rand was actually trying to target McCoy. And she did it too early. She got the scheduling wrong. You see Rand, she's grinning in the background when McCoy beams aboard. She meant to aim for McCoy, but she just...
Oh, wow.
Oh, man. So, yeah, compare and contrast the way that Kirk is introduced. One of these is dynamic and tells you almost everything you need to know about the character in the space of a 2-minute scene. The other one is filler, addressed to a character that will die in the very next scene he's in, and it serves no purpose. And I have an instant replacement for you that would have been way better. Kirk's entrance should have been walking into a meeting room and actually having that conversation with Nagura where he says, this is going to last 3 minutes, and by the time I'm done, I'm going to have the Enterprise. Show me that Kirk. That's the character introduction I want to see.
Absolutely. You go right from the Klingon space station sequence to Kirk sitting at a desk with the Admiral. You're absolutely right. Because the first time we see Kirk in this movie, he's kind of unsure. He's a little kind of nervous, bumbling almost.
A
little bit.
Right? That. He's he strides on very confidently off the ship, saying, "This is going to be my ship."
No, it's empty. It's empty. Like even when he gets onto the turbolift, once he gets onto the Enterprise, he doesn't know where he's going.
No.
Like he says to the ensign, I think I can find my way. He gets on the ship and he kind of looks at the map on the wall for a second.
He has, I mean, this is a conversation I'll get onto, but there's a transition between Kirk's own sort of journey here between like, oh, this isn't the ship I knew, but I've got to be the commander. And the fights he has with Decker along the way, like they both have their faults. I mean, less said about Stephen Collins, the better, but for the character's sake, you know, the journey of the two of them throughout that film is Kirk accepting that he's out of his element because this isn't the ship he once commanded, and Decker's acceptance that he can't be the commander in this situation because he doesn't have the experience. I think that's what it relays down to. And yet it could be better explained, but I think they try and show it in a way through McCoy, especially when he comes on and says, Jim, you're pushing, that there is a little bit of give and take there between the former commander and the pushy admiral that comes on board.
Here's the compare and contrast, very similar to what Star was just saying. Kirk essentially has the exact same journey in Wrath of Khan, right? There's things he's unsure about, but there's things that he's good at, right? There's things that he's sure about. We don't see that in the motion picture. We don't see the competence of Kirk right off the bat to contrast with how long is he at the desk? 2 years or 5 years?
2.5 years.
2 years. Yeah.
2 years. It's not even that long, but it's long enough that he feels a little bit of rust. He feels a little unsure of himself, but there's no contrast with the sureness that a Captain Admiral Kirk would have, which a meeting with Nagora, as you said, would have easily fixed. The first scene we see in Wrath of Khan, he's very confident. He's sort of joking, laughing at the cadets' failure in the Kobayashi.
I will counter that with the scene where they're encountering Vija for the first time. And they turn around and Decker's like, we should raise shields, we should do scans, we should do this. And Kirk's like, we'll take no action. We've seen the reports of all the other places. They did scans, they did shields, they got wiped out. Let's not do that. He has absolute command of that bridge and absolute control the situation. That's the point where he kind of gets over his nerves to kind of say, like,
how far into the movie is that?
No, I agree. I will agree that it takes there's a little bit of stride, but I will say he does have the command of
these points here, which is that the competence of Kirk and Decker wildly oscillates depending on the scene that they're in. And there is no real rhyme or reason to what they're right or wrong about, with one or two exceptions, right? Kirk is absolutely right on the money about the stuff on let's not provoke Vija, let's not do shit to provoke it. And he's right and he's proven right. Okay, cool, fine. That is actually a case of he knows what he's doing. He's dealt with first contacts before. Decker is 100% right in the call on the phaser power order, which is the most hilarious scene in the fucking movie. But then there's other stuff. Like, Decker, hey, it's got control of the computer. And it's like, that's the best solution you've got? And, screaming at the captain, hey, you should raise shields. Hey. That was the kind of behavior that got... Worf a very stern dressing down from Data of all people. What was your previous posting, Decker, that you saw the first officer, or you were the first officer, loudly telling the captain what to do and not offering suggestions? Oh, it's my job to offer an alternative thing. Cool. Offer it. Don't fucking command me on my bridge.
Come on, this is nepotism.
What is your background?
He was Captain
here?
Decker's son. He got the kind of, your dad died to the planet killed. Maybe we should give you the Enterprise. Fine.
Well, so I actually have to point out, right, that there's.
I would have loved that scene, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Where's that scene? Where's the scene about fucking poor old Will Decker? Yeah. No, what's his name? Matt. Sorry, Matt Decker's his dad. Yeah. There is a lot of failure of world building, exposition, and communication to the viewer here. Not just that whole plot point, which is that. I feel like that should be explained. You could even use that to fuel explaining why Decker is so reactionary to this, and so raise shields, because his dad died to a very similar sort of space phenomena. But that's something we infer as fans because we understand that connection, right? Why is that not in the movie? And another thing that's not in the movie, my oath of celibacy is on record, Captain. What the fuck is that line? What is it about? Explain it to me. You're on Star Trek. There should be a 2-minute scene where someone explains to me what a Deltan is and why everyone's horny the instant she goes on the bridge.
What do you mean? You have Walter Koenig's expression. That should tell you everything.
I mean, it can't be like the Final Frontier where Sudo and Chekhov are just following around the Klingon gunner ladies just going,
Yeah, but you could also just have a conversation between Uhura and Chekhov where they're say, tell me about the new navigator, who are we getting? And then they have a conversation. You could, guess what? Maybe give Uhura something to do in this fucking movie. How's about that for a concept? Have a conversation where she gets to be ultra cool Nichelle Nichols explaining to somehow still a fucking doofy Lieutenant Chekhov about why, guess what? The moment she pops up on the bridge, don't let your like uniform tent too obviously. Like, it's a complete failure of exposition. Show, don't tell, but also remember to tell me. If you're not going to show me, tell me. You know, just like with Star Trek, it's the originator of the Planet of the Hats trope. Just tell me what they're about so I understand what the significance is. It's a complete failure there. Now, Shy and I have been ragging on this movie for like 40 minutes at this point. Now, you're good props to Idol for just sitting here and taking it. I have to say, that everything the motion picture does wrong, it sets the standard for Trek visual language for the next 40 years. From how to handle ship flybys, like that flyby of the Katinga class cruiser in the opening, where it's like the slow pan over the bridge module, fucking gorgeous. The Starfleet aesthetic, it's actually like this is a lot more in common with what we'd have in TNG than say like arguably TOS. TOS is a lot more like stark and utilitarian in some ways. It's a bit more comfortable, a bit more 70s, a bit more loungy, which is fine. That's kind of where TNG ended up going. The Klingon bridge that we see in this movie is the exact same bridge you will see in fucking Enterprise when like they're being chased by Duras into the Expanse. The design language that they establish here and the effects and the way that everything is communicated to the viewer through visual language stays the same, and that's because it's really, really, really good. And it's a good visual aesthetic, and it's underutilized. There should have been more of that, and it's just a shame that, like, so I don't know if you noticed this or read about this during your research on this, or maybe you already know about Idol. These effects were done in like 6 to 9 months. The previous company completely fucked all their like effects, and Robert Wise was incredibly unhappy with them. There were allegations that like they took like $5 million and fucking
the production
money for the effects that they did.
The production history of this film is immense. Like, you look on Memory Alpha and you could scroll for days. Like, there is so much history on this. It's ridiculous.
And it's like the fact that it looks as good as it does, having done it in 6 to 9 months, is mind-boggling. Star Wars, like the original, like New Hope, took like 2 to 3 years for all those miniature shots. They did this in 6 to 9 months in a cave with a box of scraps.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, some of it shows. Some of it shows. Yeah. The green screen of Kirk and Scotty in the shuttlecraft going to the Enterprise.
Some of the compositing is not the best.
Notably atrocious. It's like they turned into two-dimensional creatures flying to the Enterprise and then suddenly appear on deck. But it's beautiful. Yeah.
Is it my turn now?
It's your turn now.
We've been waiting for you to chime in here. You think you're going to talk and not have us say anything about what you're saying, but that's not going to happen. Say words.
I'm not going to disagree with a lot of stuff that you've said, like especially the time and the setting of where this film came out. Like, absolutely, Alien was there. It's directly said that Star Wars is the influence for why this film looks like it does. Robert Wise was in one of the first screenings for Close Encounters of the First Kind, looked up and went, "This is what we should be doing." Like, he actually genuinely said, we could have had this, we could have done this. Like, you know, coming off the back of Phase 2 into a film. This film has flaws. This film has production flaws and story flaws. I absolutely get that. Like, I'm not disagreeing. As much as I am a fervent Star Trek the Motion Picture fanboy, I agree that it is not the best Star Trek film, but it is to me because I adore what this film... Like I said before, it's about ambience. Like, I like a film like that you can tell that everything just feels a certain vibe, and that when you sit down, you turn the lights off in the theater or in your living room, wherever you're watching it, and you put this on. You get the overture, you get those opening shots, you get that kind of feel, and you get the ambience of the film that kind of soaks into you. And I really like this because it speaks to me. You open up with like the Klingons coming in and the iconic Klingon theme tune. You get a being that is many AUs wide, and you're struck with the idea that this is a high concept thing, which the original series was lauded, or at least attempted to get high concept science fiction into the TV viewers' arms. You know, they employed Harlan Ellison. For as much as Harlan Ellison didn't want to be there, it at least submitted a script, and eventually, you know, other high concept science fiction. But this is the first time I feel like Star Trek has done an unknowing race that, you know, it does the unknown. It is so unknown that we can't equate it to the human occasion. And, I compare this to things like a lot of Arthur C. Clarke's work, like Rama. I love Rama as a book, you know, this unknowing probe, very similar to the whale probe, as it were, you know, coming into the solar system. We know nothing about it. We go on about it, and we're left absolutely clueless as to when it left. I adore that. I love the idea there is something more than what we can understand or even show in a 2.5 hour film. And, you know, 2001 Space Odyssey, as the same, you know, the inspirations here are very direct. You know, it is very akin to the same kind of, you know, psychedelic kind of imagery, but also the book as well. You know, the idea that we are confronted with something that is almost as magic to us as would be to the cavemen. That's what I really love about this, because V'Ger is such an alien concept. It is such a radical, you know, as Spock is exploring it, he's saying they've spent all this energy to digitize forms, has explored known space, and we can't understand how it produces this much power, yet it derives from something that we've created. Voyager went off into the stars, encountered something, got converted, and just wants to come home to find the creator. It goes from something very high concept to something very humanizing very quickly. And that's kind of what I really love about it. But not just the story, but the atmosphere on the soundtrack. Like, the soundtrack is amazing. I cannot fault any part of the soundtrack for this.
No, Jerry Goldsmith did is probably his best work ever.
It's amazing. Even there's a specialist instrument they use for the dong, you know, the big sort of, like, I think they're bringing it back for Picard season 3 as well. But even that, you know, there's a whole design language on this film that, again, evokes a little bit from Phase 2. But, you know, okay, we laugh about the beige, and the beige is terrible. The Monster Marines are much better. Like, once they got into the Wrath of Khan, the Starship design was much better. But we get, you know, there is a 70s design, but it kind of works in a way that it is uniform. Like, it matches the Enterprise. It matches that kind of 2001 A Space Odyssey look where everyone is... Like, it's the first time we've seen... You open up to the Enterprise bridge... You open the doors, everyone's working. This isn't like the TOS days where it's just like, you know, people are just pushing buttons. People are shouting at each other on the bridge. There are people having reports. This is the most alive the Enterprise has felt ever. Like, you know, you don't even get that on TNG to this extent, where people are busy working at consoles and actually working and shouting at each other and relaying reports. I love that kind of almost... So
you're saying you love the Enterprise scenes in Final Frontier?
Kind of. I don't mind those. I don't actually mind those parts. I like the humanizing elements. There's a lot wrong with the Final Frontier. We'll get on to that at some point.
I love the part when he gets on the bridge and everyone's working, and there's someone on a hover pad working on the ceiling, and it's clearly just a guy with this hover pad attached to his shoes, hanging from a rig. Like, he's just up there for this shot. Anyway, I didn't know they were...
No, you're fine. You're fine. But there is the things I love about it. You know, people talk about this being the slow motion picture. I'm not going to disagree with that, but I kind of love it. You know, especially if you watch the director's cut, which I'll emphasize being the preferred way to watch it. But you get these slow motion shots of, you know, the Enterprise flying over V'Ger, or Spock entering V'Ger and having all this very high concept stuff you never see in Star Trek again. You never see the stuff that you just don't understand, or you can't understand on a physiological level. Why does it have these glowing orbs there? Why is the inside of it this vast amount of space and digitized imagery? Why has it recreated Ilea? Because it wants to talk to these strange carbon units. Like, it is very high concept, and I love that. For all its flaws, like you say, Stars, I'm not disagreeing on anything you say. Like, yeah, there are flaws in this movie, Stephen Collins being the big one. Fuck that guy. The biggest blemish I wish just wasn't there. But yeah, you're right about, you know, Kirk's entrance. You know, it could be more emphasized, but we do love, you know, I love how McCoy comes back, and it's just McCoy. He breaks the ice between Spock coming back being so isolated and Kirk coming back being so nervous. He literally bridges that gap, and he goes, Spock, God help me, I'm glad to see you. And you get a little bit of comedic moment, like you would in TOS. You almost expect to hear the do-do-do-do-do music over the top of it.
Oh yeah, I do appreciate that Spock is, like, you know, just come off like nearly finishing his Colonel Discipline, and he doesn't give shit to Kirk. Like, Chekhov gets nothing off him. No one can say shit to him. But the instant McCoy says a single word to him, he's like, it's the exact same line that TOS instantly. He can't stop it. He can't help himself but being that same shitty asshole Spock, and I love it.
But I also love how I finish it. I love how
you go for it.
No, sorry. I love how menacing V'Ger is. Like how it is presented as this cloud, and then onto this being, and then you sort of all the scales suddenly come down. You get to this vast cloud, to this energy being, to this vast spaceship, to this probe. It all ends up breaking down. You explore every step of the journey through to something simple as it's just a misunderstood probe. And I love how it reconnects, and the visuals, and most of what I love is a cinematic experience. My favorite things are I'm watching a film, and my wife doesn't understand this. Like, I love turning off all the lights, like watching something like Dune, like watching something that I'm going to watch and not get distracted by my phone because there's a part that's too boring, which you might find ironic. Believe me, I don't. And, or something, any kind of big cinematic film like 2001: A Space Odyssey, you're just watching and you're soaking in the ambience and you're getting the feel for the movie. It's what I get from the motion picture. I get from the soundtrack to the visuals to the concept of things. And yes, there are flaws. Yes, there are flaws with everything. God knows we've got, like you said, we'll never get the lows of Code of Honor. We'll never get the highs of Chain of Command. But we'll get those bits in between that do something different that the motion picture does. And that's why I love it. And I kind of love that it is different. It is its own little bastard child of Star Trek that's born out of very bad things that have some mistakes in them, but have some good concepts underneath and present them in a way that I enjoy. Yeah, there we go. That's my 5 minutes of Star Trek.
Absolutely. And you know what? I want to say something deeply complimentary about this movie, which is that the reason why I think it has so much value and why it is a really important piece of Star Trek, not just because of the visual language, but because of what it establishes about the characters going forward, and that helped make both Wrath of Khan, because like a lot of the ship footage went into Wrath of Khan and helped make that movie look even better. So guess what? You can't put it in that way. But I think the single best scene in the movie, and maybe some of the best acting that Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner ever did, was when they're in the sickbay after the spacewalk. And it's Spock saying, V'Ger has knowledge that spans this universe, and yet with all its pure logic, V'Ger is barren, cold, no mystery, no beauty. I should have known. And then Kirk is like right up in his face here. He's doing that nicely homoerotic Kirk thing he does. Says, know what? Spock, what should you have known? And then Spock takes his hand, which in Vulcan culture, that's a kiss, right? Like, remember
Second
in Journey to
base.
Babel when Amanda and like Sarek are touching fingers, and that's a nice little effect. You just took that man's hand, Spock. We all see you. Jim, this simple feeling is beyond V'Ger's comprehension, and there are times when I read something and I'm like, or I hear a line, I'm like, that is perfectly written. There is no other order of those words that more aptly sum up what this, seeing what this character, what this movie is about. And Leonard Nimoy grasping William Shatner's hand with that little smile on his face, like, this simple feeling is beyond this machine's comprehension, is genuinely beautiful and heartwarming, and it makes me love Star Trek. Stuff like that. Moments of genuine human connection and understanding are beautiful. And that ultimately is kind of the message of TMP, and that is why I do have time for it.
But yeah, in what you were saying, that when McCoy appears, he's McCoy, DeForest character.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with this movie, is that he's the sole bit of humor and light
Yeah.
in this film.
No one is
and
having fun. Yeah.
Yeah. The only other thing previous to that was sort of, and when Nimoy and DeForest Kelly are working off of each other, and Shatner's watching them, it's just magic, and that's why they really ramped that up in Wrath of Khan. But like your countryman George Bernard Shaw said, if you're going to tell people the truth, you better make them laugh or they're going to kill you. This is not a lot of laughs in the motion picture. Yeah. Not a lot of levity, not a lot of light.
No.
It's a lot of mood.
Yeah, it's a lot of mood. Well, do we want to talk about how experienced space veteran Kirk decides, you know what? Epsilon 9's about to come in range of this V'Ger thing that's killed everything in its path. So let's show it to the entire crew.
Well, no, that was
they now all think they're good. No, that was live.
Recording.
Was that live? That was recorded.
That was live. Yeah, because they Uhura, I'm pretty sure.
That's right. Yeah, kill viewer. Yeah.
Yeah. Guess what? Take that shit in the fucking briefing room. Do not show that to the entire crew. If you have any, those people left that briefing room, and then McCoy got 50 instances of people trying to kill themselves with sleeping pills.
Hey, this is
not a great idea.
Because this comes down to Gene Roddenberry's ideal version of humanity. Humanity doesn't suffer from those things. They're professional crew. Any examples of mental problems have been wiped out. We've solved all that shit. We're a utopia now. As flawed as that idea is. But I think that's, But yeah, that could just been like they showed it and didn't give a fuck.
Yeah. I also have two other more points I want to bring up. So another instance in which I think the director actually fails this movie. I mean, you can probably tell me if the director's cut is any better in this respect. But the V'Ger versus the Klingon ships in the opening is really well shot, except for the fact that there is absolutely no sense of immediacy or speed going on there.
No,
it's a lot of showing a ship, looking at a screen, showing a reactor. They do that a lot in this movie, and all the drama and tension and fear is being provided by Goldsmith, not by Wise, and that is a problem.
I suppose you're right on that account. Like the soundtrack does do a lot to pull the weight of what's going on there, as opposed to the visuals. But I think that benefits from I know that's not the point in a film, but I think it benefits from a second watching when you understand what V'Ger is and what it is doing. That it actually gets a little bit more tense from that. But I appreciate the sentiment at the time.
And this goes to your point, Stars, about the lack of world building.
Yeah,
we've never seen these Klingons before.
Yeah,
we don't even, aside from the ships looking like they did on TOS, you'd have no idea that these are Klingons. And this is a great Klingon redesign. This alien redesign is so good. It's second only to the ship redesign, which deserves its own little
we haven't talked about the flyby.
That ship design.
Oh yeah,
well the flyby only works because of the ship redesign.
Yeah.
I think Wise was like, this ship's so pretty, I just have to slow down the orchestrations. First of all, the music, I know we were lauding the music before, but the orchestration of that flyby in Space Hawk is way too slow. It's just way too slow.
It's I feel like the conductor was going too fast. Slow it down. Yeah.
I think there's a compromise, because I feel like modern Trek has definitely kind of not lingered on a lot of Starship. Well, at least until later seasons, anyway. Like early.
Yeah, you don't even have time to jerk one off, do you?
It's incredible. I can't even cover the underside of my desk on this. But there's the compromise. Like, I feel like New Trek needs to spend more time maybe looking at the ships, because I self-confessed I'm a ship porn kind of guy. I love looking at designs and things like that. And the Enterprise the Enterprise refit scene where they're spinning around is pure indulgence, and I wish we got more of that. But like you say, Stars, like, it is a ship you want to look around a lot. You got to think, we hadn't seen the Enterprise since 1969. In the third season, they've kind of gone like, we've completely redone it. Let's look around it and look how good this looks. And it kind of comes to your earlier point, Stars, about the soundtrack pulling its weight. If this was a very dry look around a ship, it'd feel like a PowerPoint presentation. A load of engineers saying, look at the whole structure here on the nacelle number 3. Expecting a few people with laser pointers to be pointing at things in a technical presentation. But because you got the soundtrack, it feels a lot more grandiose. With Kirk and Scotty look at each other very sort of tears in their eyes. They're so beautiful, as Lower Decks did spoof, but. I kind of love it because the Enterprise refit is one of my favorite designs, so there it is.
Yeah.
But there's a good like half-minute of shots of the lighting fixtures in Space Dock.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, those hexagonal lighting fixtures are great, but it's too long. You know, in contrast, like in season 3 of Discovery, they also have sort of a ship porn flying through sequence when they first arrive at Starfleet headquarters, where they're looking at all the ships. But there you're actually getting the crew commenting on the ships versus two-dimensional Kirk and Scotty.
I need a complete flyby around the Voyager J so I can see how detached those nacelles are. Come on.
Right.
So, I have to ask you guys a question, and I hope that you can give me an answer, because this is actually really important. Now, is this the actual first instance of the Enterprise is the only ship in range?
Oh, no, it can't be. I think TOS has definitely got to establish that precedent somewhere.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that this the only ship in range thing has been done before, but with the modifier, you're in fucking Sector 001.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a trope. I mean, that's been done before. Like,
Fuck off.
I mean, sorry, that has been done since. Like, there's definitely been the Enterprise D.
Oh, Generations is easily one of the worst. Yeah,
you got to think like around Earth space dock. The Enterprise, the only ship in range. Like, where is everyone? Like on the Klingon border? What's going on?
Yeah. Like,
look,
this is like
There's historical precedent. There's historical precedent. This is what happened to Rome. This is how Rome fell. Rome spread out too wide.
Yeah.
So when the Visigoths came over there, they couldn't defend themselves. So, you know, the Federation
we are talking about, like, you know, this is still the early period of Star Trek exploration. Like, if Enterprise is, you know, Starfleet's getting its feelers, sending the odd ship out. TOS era is like, we've got the ships on the frontier. We're really pushing the boundary. And then the next generation is the era where, we've established our supply lines. We've got ships everywhere, even though apparently the Enterprise is still the only ship in the region. But I think it is a bit of a stretch to say, like, we don't have at least a Proto-Excelsior class sitting in a space dock somewhere. But it happens with, Generations is the example, like the Enterprise B. The ship that's just flown out of space dock is somehow the only ship in the area that can,
well, Final Frontier does the exact same thing, where it's like, oh, you're the only ship in range. Like, fuck off. Shut the fuck. Guess what? You know what that actually is? That is weak storytelling. Now, that is literally like, we need a reason for shit to go wrong on the ship.
I'll give you another example. I'll give you another example. It is a lack of establishment to what else is out there. What else does Starfleet have? Because we know at this point in Star Trek history, we have no idea what the complement of Starfleet is. We don't know if it's 300 ships out there or just 6. We don't know. Yeah. Like, we don't have the knowledge that we do now that they're everywhere. Obviously, it makes no sense now. But at the time, in 1979, it probably makes more sense because they might make a ship and then send it to 6 light years out there.
Yeah, but the Ultimate Computer established that there were at least like 14 ships just in range of the Enterprise.
The whole galaxy, the whole of the sector, like, they've gone. They're out of the way. Like, they could send them out. But to be fair, why would they leave Earth undefended? Like, that is dumb. Yeah, no, you're right.
It's the stupidest thing in the world. Yeah, and it's like it's literally a script writing problem where it's like, I need to come up with a reason for shit to go wrong on the ship, and it does. But I also need a reason why it has to be specifically this ship and this crew that is going up against the threat. So it's like, oh well, it's the only ship in range. It's just got out of space dock because it's all big and spangly, and it has to be Kirk because Kirk said so, and it's just weak.
But you know what? The whole film is like the trope I love about it is like, and this isn't really done until Discovery season 4, but there isn't a villain. There is no real villain here. Like, not like Wrath of Khan, Search for Spock.
Decker is a villain.
Okay, fair enough.
But I mean, learn that later.
Of the actual film, there isn't really a villain. There is no antagonist that has like a call for vengeance or just happens to be like malicious in the way. It's purely a misunderstanding through time and through like technology. Like, all it requires is a non-conventional solution to work it out, or just people talking to each other, which is like the moral of the film is if we just learn to understand each other through common cause, like maybe it can work. When you don't kind of
Are you saying that's a good?
Well, kind of.
You saying that's a good thing or a bad thing?
No, I think it's a good thing because I don't, having a villain, it can work if they're a good villain, like Khan, or like Chang, or, like
or
Madrid.
Queen.
Yeah, or someone else. Some villains, or to an extent outside Star Trek universe like Thanos. Villains that are well defined and well structured work, but you also get the bad villains like Ruafu or many of the others that are in Star Trek. Yeah, so many other ones. So Kruge is not a great villain. He's just a Klingon that just has like, haha, Genesis is mine. But you actually don't have a villain here. There is no antagonist aside from what you perceive as an antagonist in the early instance of the movie, and I really like that. I like films that can turn that kind of storytelling on its head a little bit.
No, I see what you mean, and I think it kind of ties back to when I was talking about how Motion Picture and Wrath of Khan are two very different blueprints for Star Trek, and Wrath of Khan won. And you can absolutely see that because Wrath of Khan keeps on getting called back to every time. Like Nemesis was meant to be like Wrath of Khan. Strange New Worlds did like that Gorn episode that was just like Wrath of Khan. And it's just like you get your repeats, and the DNA is everywhere. It's like that's not a problem. Guess what? Wrath of Khan has a lot of it's really well structured. The emphasis is on on tightness, on leanness, on strong character interaction, on dynamic villains with a lot of personality. But there is a universe in which, Wrath of Khan came out first, and it flopped, and then Motion Picture came out afterwards, and people responded really well to it. And instead of Star Trek, instead of Star Trek constantly chasing every Star Trek movie having a villain, which all of them do, and a lot of them are bad. There is a Star Trek out there that follows this film's blueprint and is at least trying to be more about the unknown and about understanding and about actual scientific exploration to a degree, because none of the other movies really are. The closest thing we get is Final Frontier, and look how that turned out. And I don't know, I don't think I'd like to live in that world, because that would I really enjoy Wrath of Khan and what it did for the franchise in terms of focusing it on the characters and on morality plays and on the implications of these high concept ideas on the real world. But there is a part of me that's there is a different blueprint. And especially now that we're up to Star Trek 14, I would like someone to try and do the motion picture again. At least in terms of the format, in terms of, again, not having a villain. I feel like we have progressed past the need for Star Trek to necessarily have to have villains. I feel like it's an easy way for it to be written, but it's way more interesting to just have a mystery and explore it and go through it.
Sounds like you need to watch Discovery Season 4.
Yeah,
well, I mean,
that's what I appreciate about that. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
no, that's exactly.
That's what I like.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, Discovery Season 4 is exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
some
that's
degree.
Good, because after 60 years, you need to explore different ways to do your franchise and let it breathe. And it's the amount of bad villains we've gotten, the amount of ones where you're even if some of them are good, there's so many missing. Shinzon. Is it shit? That's the same problem.
This concept has been picked up by other genre films, like Arrival, like Contact.
Yeah, precisely.
It's the Close Encounters format, right? Which is why Wise probably saw Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It was we should have done this because it's the no villain movie where it's just about
the villain is ignorance. Yeah,
the villain is ignorance, or it's not knowing. Arrival does this very well, and you have people.
Darmok also, actually, now I think about it, Darmok is also. That's why Darmok is so. Darmok.
Oh yeah. Exactly.
The villain is not the captain, and the villain is not the monster. The villain is misunderstanding. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why people respond so well to Arrival is such a good execution of that same idea, that it's way more about the characters and that high concept. And it's I feel like Star Trek could really benefit from taking a few more cues from that. And as much as I like Star Trek Beyond, it is very much in the same format as the other Kelvin movies and of the Wrath of Khan thing of we need to have a villain. It's I would like you say Discovery Season 4 does that a bit more. Keep on going with it. I like not having a villain, because that means that you have to work way harder for your conflict resolution, and you have to work way harder at being intelligent about your storytelling, and that's just a better thing overall for the show and for the series and for the franchise.
Yeah, while Idol has stepped away, let's also talk about how the contrast. It's weird that we can't really talk about the motion picture without contrasting it with what followed in the Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
Like Wise.
Well, they're so diametrically opposite, really.
Yeah, well, because Wise does not pull really in-depth performances from these actors. These actors are good when they're good in the motion picture because they're good actors. Like Nimoy is a good actor. DeForest Kelly is a good actor. Shatner, is a good actor, but he's one note in this movie because he doesn't have a Nicholas Meyer pushing him to exhaustion to like vary his performance. And he's just doing his Shatner thing. Yeah. And so that's why there's much like the uniforms, there's a certain like sameness, beigeness to all the performances in this movie. It's interesting. As another Discovery aside, it's interesting that at the end of season 3 Discovery, they made the exact same mistake as the motion picture and had the new uniforms.
They were lucky to be able to. They were able to course correct that one way quicker than they were here.
Right away. Don't ever make your costumes match your set, kids. Yeah. It's a bad idea.
Yeah, I will say the Enterprise Bridge is possibly the worst in the motion picture like that. The movie's Enterprise Bridge is probably terrible because it is just so dull. There's not a lot going on there. I think by Wrath of Khan they do at least fix it and put a little bit of color on there, but it's the movie's bridge is.
It's just lighting. It's mostly lighting changes for Wrath of Khan, isn't it? Like the
possibly.
It's basically the same bridge, just redressed a little bit because they realized, hey, you need to vary the things up. I also feel like I really do keep on ragging on the director. I'm sure he's a very talented director. I just don't think that this was playing to his strengths because if you look at his filmography. This is not the kind of thing he usually made. And I can see why he'd look at Close Encounter because that feels more akin to what he was like kind of more used to. Yeah. Whereas this requires a Nicholas Meyer, it requires hell, even fucking Nimoy can handle like stuff on this on a better way. And he's he had relatively limited like directorial experience and he did a great job. It's a case of play to your strengths, and I don't feel like this was playing to Robert Wise's strengths as a director.
Well, if Wise had put a dance number, like when the entire crew is gathered together in the dock, they should have had a dance number right there, like West Side Story.
Feature, it's coming to get you. No, just me.
Look, all I'm saying is that Vija should have spawned a ton of little like insectoid drones, and they should have just started aggressively finger snapping at the Enterprise crew. That's what should have happened.
Wasn't that Star Trek
Shouted
Beyond?
Mambo at each other and started dancing.
With sabotage somehow ruled in there. Sabotage. Wait, I just got that. Is that why they use sabotage in the Kelvinverse films? Because of his terrible way of saying sabotage?
I don't think that's the reason. You are giving J.J. Abrams entirely too much credit.
That's a deep cut, if so. That would be so good.
No, he just likes Beastie Boys, I'm pretty sure.
Fair enough. Well, you guys weren't too harsh on it. I thought you were going to be well meaner than that, but I feel
because like, guess what, Idol? You genuinely love it, and I can see why you love it. And it's just a case of like, it is not bereft of merit. Like, guess what? I will take the motion picture over Nemesis any day because the motion picture just kind of leaves me feeling like, oh, this could be better. And then there's the occasional scene like the bit in Sickbay where I'm like, this genuinely moves me. Whereas Nemesis, I just feel gross and icky the entire way through, and I'm like, fucking get me out of here. I can't stop watching this sooner enough. Like,
it's like our discussion of
value here.
Yeah, it's like our discussion of Picard season 2 earlier. There are great elements all throughout this movie. They just don't come together to form something greater than the sum of its parts. Sadly,
absolutely, yeah.
For me, you love it.
For me,
that's great.
Hey, I'm
people love Picard season 2.
Like you say, there's someone out there that loves Rise of Skywalker. There is someone out there that adores that film in the same way that I like the motion picture.
I don't believe that.
Maybe one day we'll get together and make beautiful music. Today is not that day.
All right, you know what? I have to ask a question, okay? Can I ask a question? So we're going to be doing our TOS movies, right? Yeah. Is there even a point in talking about Wrath of Khan, or is it going to be just like 3 hours of me and Shai and you just viciously masturbating?
I have some negatives to say about the Wrath of Khan. Sorry, Shai. I do have some negatives to say about the Wrath of Khan, but we will get onto that next time. I mean, like, I do adore the Wrath of Khan. I do think it's a really good film, probably in I believe we will be waxing poetic on that for quite some time. But no, I think there's some valid criticism on it, but we'll get there.
All right, I'm interested to hear that. Okay, yeah, we'll do that. Yeah.
But yeah, I'll save it for that.
Should we skip it? What is there to say about the Wrath of Khan? Hasn't
no. I'm always happy to tune in to listen Idol being wrong about things. So by all means, let's dive in.
Oh, that's why people subscribe. my terrible opinions. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us this week. Thank you, Shai and Stars, for being here for this Star Trek show, as always. Always been a pleasure. We'll be back probably same time next month. Next February is a weird one because I'm actually going on holiday for a week. I'm going to be away.
How dare you?
How dare I? It's not going to be here very. But we do have quite a lot of shows going on. This Saturday, we're going to have the Butter Zone. So we're going to be getting together, chilling, talking rubbish. So whoever's on for that, please come and join us, and we'll chill and chat about actual food and rubbish talk, and probably talk about Star Trek again. You know us, we can't help it. Then on Wednesday, we'll be revisiting Hidden Evil, and I will be working hard to restore my save file, which I
have you actually managed to play back up to where
I haven't done it yet. It'll take me like 5 seconds.
Dude, you gotta do it. Come on.
Gotta do it. I'm not gonna say that. But yeah, Insurrection 2 Baku Boogaloo, which actually we're really enjoying. I'm really enjoying that. That was really good
right.
game.
Up, he fluffed it.
Yeah. February 10th, we are going to be streaming on Strange New Pods channel for joining them on Captain Picard Week, where we'll be talking about Picard and Wesley Crusher. If you haven't checked out Strange New Pod, I've invited lots of other Star Trek podcasts to join them and do a whole week's worth of shows on Captain Picard and Jean-Luc Picard in lieu of Picard Season 3 airing. So go check out their channel and see the lineup of stuff they've got. I believe I posted something in our announcement channel on the Discord. So go and have a look. You can see lots of other shows there, but we're actually participating. And I believe Big McLarge Huge, one of our hosts, is going to be going on one of their quizzes at some point, which I'll get a date of when that's happening. So look out for that. Him being the quizmaster extraordinaire is very looking forward to that. And then on the Wednesday after that, we've got Timelines Talks 87, where we'll come back with all the... no, that's the week after because I'm not there. So on the 22nd, we'll be back to talk Timelines Talks and all that rubbish. Because we're still playing that game somehow. But I'll have some other streams here and there, so keep an eye out. But we'll be back at some point soon. Gentlemen, been an absolute pleasure to have you as always. Any final thoughts? Maybe not on the motion picture. Hey! This should be our real outro.
Is this not our outro?
This is not. Are you ready for the outro?
Look at this! Look at this lens flare I'm getting. Look at this Abrams lens flare.
Nice.
I'm getting off
Just do that another 277
I'm not blind yet.
Christmas present.
Yes, I can almost see the dialogue. Right. Anyway, thank you very much, guys. Ta-ra.
It'll be one more case to tell her about, won't it, Chief Inspector?